contemplated divorce. Serenity paused with her fork, hesitating over her mushroom. Although it was not what she wanted to hear, Zachary did have a valid point. Her sister had broached the topic of divorce with Serenity, but only in private. It was uncertain whether Liberty had made a decision regarding it. Given Serenity's fiery temperament, she might lash out at Hank when she confronted him. Would her sister feel sympathy for Hank if Serenity caused him harm? Chapter 151. I'm not saying you shouldn't stand up for your sister, but once your sister and brother-in-law have a falling out, there's no going back. I definitely support you in addressing the situation with him. Serenity grimly chewed her mushroom and responded, "You're right. I'll manage my temper and avoid resorting to violence, but I will still give him a warning. I don't want the Browns to think they can bully my sister just because she lacks family support." Seeing that she took his advice to heart, Zachary decided to end the conversation there. After they had finished eating, they lingered for a moment before leaving together. Knowing that Serenity was concerned about her sister, Zachary took a detour to Liberty's place so Serenity could check on her before he dropped her off at the shop. Serenity felt grateful for his thoughtfulness. She had promised herself not to get too attached to Zachary last night, but his kindness made her reconsider that decision. Jasonine had mentioned that Zachary was a good guy and that Serenity should give their relationship a fair chance, especially since they were still married. With only a month passed out of the agreed 6 months, she had 5 more months to develop feelings and potentially become a real couple. She felt it was worth trying the relationship to avoid future regrets. As Elisa suggested, she should pursue love. Even if it didn't work out, at least she would have made the effort. Elisa would have no regrets even if she didn't win Mr. York's heart. Spotting the miniature tree she had gifted Zachary, Serenity casually remarked, "You still have the miniature tree in the car. I'll place it on my desk when I get to the office later." Serenity smiled. "Please recommend my work to others if anyone." "Sure," Zachary said, happily agreeing to her request. He decided to ask Josh to order crafts from her online business, knowing that Josh would likely wonder why he was involved again. Serenity planned to visit her brother-in-law at the Browns' residence later, but to her surprise, the Browns contacted her first. While on her way to work, she received a call from Jasmine, who informed her that Hank's mother and sister were waiting for her at the shop. It was fortunate that they sought her out, as it saved her the trip to the Browns' home. Zachary asked, "Do you need my help?" "I'm good. Only Hank's mother and sister are at the shop. Women don't usually get into serious fights, we might bicker a little." "You don't need to get involved with them, it's beneath you," she replied. "Don't worry, I can handle myself in an argument or a fight," she added confidently. As an orphan with some rather ridiculous relatives, Serenity had grown up to be quite feisty, and as she claimed, she always emerged victorious in conflicts. Zachary, being a cultured individual, wouldn't pick a fight, verbally or physically, unless provoked. Since Serenity didn't require his assistance, he dropped her off at the shop and headed to work. On the drive, he felt a bit down, noting that he was wearing the suit Serenity had bought for him. She hadn't seemed to notice during their breakfast together or when he drove her to the shop. With such a handsome husband by her side, he wondered why she wasn't paying more attention to him. By the time Zachary arrived at the office, it was 9 o'clock, and fortunately, Elisa was not there to obstruct his entrance. He left his miniature tree in the car since there weren't many people around. Taking the elevator straight to the top floor, he encountered Josh as he stepped out. With a file of papers tucked under his elbow and a phone in his right hand for a call, Josh noticed Zachary and abandoned his attempt to make the call. "I have an urgent document that needs your signature. I assumed you weren't coming to the office since I hadn't seen you around," he said. Zachary explained softly, "I arrived late because I had to drive my wife to work." Chapter 152. "Mr. York, could you please stop flaunting your relationship? I have no intention of getting married anytime soon." Now that Zachary had bid farewell to his single life, he shouldn't drag Josh into a married life. By persistently showcasing the benefits of having a wife, Zachary seemed to be trying to coax Josh into abandoning his wonderful singlehood as well. "Ha! Why did you choose this outfit today?" Josh's sharp eyes noticed that Zachary was not wearing his usual suit label. He asked curiously, "What prompted the change of brands?" Zachary was a stubborn man. Once he developed a preference for a particular brand, he would stick with it for years and was not one to switch labels easily. Given Zachary's taste, the suits he typically wore were extremely expensive. However, the one he had on today cost no more than a few $100s. This was quite unlike Zachary. Following Zachary's lead, Josh asked with concern, "Mr. York, is our company experiencing a financial crisis? Are you wearing clothes from the outlet store to save money?" To someone like Josh, a suit priced at a few $100s was considered an outlet sale. Zachary waited until he was in the CEO's office before responding to Josh's inquiry. As the administrative executive, you should be aware of whether the company is facing financial difficulties. My wife bought me these new clothes. What? Don't they look good? I think they're great, the fabric is soft against my skin, and the cut fits me well. Josh was left speechless. He regretted asking, all he received in return was Zachary flaunting his relationship. Since Zachary's wife had given him new clothes, it was only natural for him to accept the gift and wear the suit. Josh suspected that his boss, and best friend, was beginning to develop feelings for his wife. Otherwise, Zachary would never have been so enthusiastic about wearing a suit from her. Judging by the expression on his boss's face, it appeared that the man had not yet acknowledged his feelings for his wife. This was an event Josh would not want to miss for anything. Serenity was completely unaware of what was happening with Zachary. As she entered the bookshop, she found her sister's mother-in-law and sister-in-law waiting for her by the cash register. Jasmine poured each of them a glass of warm water and set the drinks in front of them, but they did not touch their beverages. Upon Serenity's arrival, the mother and daughter exchanged scowls. Suppressing her frustration, Serenity greeted them politely, "Chelsea, Mrs. Brown, what brings you here?" They had sought her out before she had planned to visit them. "I hope you're not busy, Serenity." The students were already in class when the mother and daughter arrived. Noticing the lack of activity in the shop, they concluded that Serenity's business was struggling. They believed they had made the right decision to encourage Hank to evict her. It seemed unlikely that Serenity was making any money, as her business was slow, and the rent in the area was high. It was no surprise that she had to work tirelessly on crafts to sell online. If Hank hadn't kicked her out, she would still be relying on his support. Liberty's extravagant spending likely included financing her sister. The idea of splitting expenses was a wise one, as it significantly piqued Hank's interest, or so Mrs. Brown and her daughter thought. "Yes, I'm not busy." "What's the matter, Mrs. Brown?" Serenity maintained her politeness. Zachary was right, having a fallout with the Browns would put her sister in a difficult position, especially since her sister wanted her marriage with Hank to succeed. Chelsea spoke up angrily, "Of course, there is an issue. That's why we're here. Your sister hit Hank. What do you have to say about it?" Chapter 153. Serenity nearly erupted in anger when Chelsea made that comment to her face. However, she forced herself to maintain her composure and refrained from slamming the table in front of Chelsea. She calmly walked behind the cash register and took a seat before locking eyes with Chelsea and firing a barrage of questions at her. "Chelsea, you said my sister hit my brother-in-law. Did you see it happen? Did my sister start it? Did my brother-in-law fight back? How badly was he hurt? Was he hospitalized?" Chelsea replied shamelessly, "So what if Hank started it? Your sister needs to be taught a lesson. Hank wanted to discipline her that day, but since you came over with your husband, he didn't want to embarrass her. We even persuaded him not to punish her. Any man would have slapped his wife for everything your sister has done. She deserved to be taught a lesson. And she even had the nerve to hit Hank back, leaving him black and blue. He couldn't even bring himself to go home. Serenity, you may be younger than your sister, but you're married and independent now. Since you're part of Liberty's family, we need to talk to you about this. You should bring your sister to our house to apologize to Hank, and she should come bearing gifts. On top of that, she must write a guarantee promising never to raise her hand against Hank again before she brings him home." Chelsea's words were utterly astonishing. It was a real eye-opener for both Serenity and Jasmine. Serenity finally understood just how ridiculous Chelsea was. Hearing about it was one thing, but witnessing it firsthand was another. Chelsea's absurdity at this moment was simply outrageous. Serenity felt like she was about to explode. Before she could respond, Mrs. Brown immediately took over after Chelsea finished speaking. "Serenity, Chelsea is right," Mrs. Brown said firmly. "Show me a family where the wife doesn't work or cook. Hank's schedule is very busy. After working all morning, he comes home to find no lunch prepared for him. He has to cook for himself, like he's single and doesn't even have a wife. Hank pays the mortgage and covers all household expenses while your sister stays at home doing nothing but taking care of the child, which isn't even difficult. She spends her days idling around and still has the nerve to argue with Hank. Hank is already under tremendous pressure. Even if she can't help reduce his burden, refusing to cook and letting him go hungry is unacceptable. Anyone would lose their temper in his position. Splitting expenses was a last resort. Your sister spends money recklessly, over $1,000 in a single day. Does she think Hank's income grows on trees? For a family of three, $50 for groceries is more than enough, yet she demands a monthly food budget of $1,500. And despite that, Hank still gives her $3,000 every month. She still complains about splitting expenses. She's capable of earning money, yet she insists on relying on Hank. Even if she doesn't care about him, we do. What was the point of her education if she can't contribute financially? Look at Chelsea, she has 3 children and still works. Your sister refuses to work, claims she wants to focus on childcare, and expects Hank to support her entirely. Is she his daughter? Why should he shoulder all her expenses? He pays for her needs, yet she can't even cook a meal for him. Is that what you call a wife? We've been patient enough with her. Do you honestly think anyone else would tolerate her behavior? They wouldn't. I would have divorced her and kicked your sister out long ago, Mrs. Brown declared coldly, her words even harsher than Chelsea's. Jasmine picked up a broom and pretended to sweep the floor. In reality, she was waiting for Serenity's signal to kick the absurd mother and daughter duo out of the shop. All women should be supporting one another, not tearing each other down. Seething with rage, Serenity glared at them and said coldly, "Mrs. Brown, do you really think taking care of a child is easy just because you helped raise Chelsea's kids? Can you handle a 2-year-old on your own? Chelsea has 3 children, yet you and Mr. Brown are the ones raising them. All she did was give birth. My sister gave you a grandson who carries your family name, yet you refuse to help at all. Comparing Chelsea to my sister is ridiculous. My sister could work and earn her own income if you were willing to help look after Sonny. Before marriage, she earned more than my brother-in-law ever did." Chapter 154. Chelsea cut Serenity off mid-sentence. Parents should take responsibility for the children they give birth to. Grandparents are not obligated to raise their grandchildren. Exactly, Serenity shot back. Children are the parents' responsibility. So why don't you take care of your own kids, Chelsea? Chelsea opened her mouth to retort. My parents are happy to help with my children. Your sister can ask her parents to help too. Without hesitation, Serenity picked up the glass of water in front of Chelsea and splashed it straight onto her face. Ah! What the hell are you doing, Serenity? Chelsea screamed. I'm helping you rinse that filthy mouth of yours, Serenity replied coldly, staring at both mother and daughter without an ounce of remorse. Enraged, Chelsea lunged forward, ready to retaliate, but Mrs. Brown grabbed her and held her back. She turned to her daughter and said, Your sister-in-law's parents passed away more than 10 years ago. You went too far. You can't blame Serenity for reacting after such a cruel remark. But she had no right to splash water on me. Chelsea shouted. Look at my clothes, they're soaked. Serenity, do you even know how expensive this outfit is? Can you afford to pay me back? Seizing the opportunity, Jasmine, who had been sweeping with exaggerated vigor, chimed in, Your clothes would only be worth $1,000 if they were authentic. Too bad they're knockoffs. If you paid over $1,000 for them, you got scammed. They're worth at most $200. Chelsea pointed at Jasmine and screamed, "What do you know? You're the one wearing knockoffs. Mine are genuine, and I spent over $1,000 on them. Can you even afford this brand? You're just jealous because you can't buy it." Jasmine clicked her tongue disdainfully. "The clothes I wear cost several $1,000s. Real designer brands go for tens of thousands. What you're wearing is something I'd use as a cleaning rag at home." "You!" Chelsea's face flushed red with rage. She had something to hide. She had only spent a few $100s on her outfit. She had checked the brand's official website and saw that genuine pieces cost over $1,000, but she couldn't be sure whether hers was authentic. "Serenity!" Chelsea snapped. "You really hire all kinds of trash. Fire her immediately." Serenity replied coldly, "Sorry to disappoint you. She's not my employee. She's my partner." "And are you absolutely sure your clothes aren't fake? You look like someone using anger to cover up embarrassment." Who else but Chelsea would pass off a knockoff as the real thing? It was laughable for Chelsea to pretend she could afford luxury brands. "Chelsea, enough about the clothes," Serenity said icily. "Here's my stance on my sister and brother-in-law's situation. As my sister's family, I fully support her decision to split everything evenly since Hank wants to go Dutch. He suggested it himself, so he should live with the consequences. Why should he take all the benefits while my sister bears everything else?" Chapter 155. "Of course, I have no objection if you choose to be a submissive wife, Chelsea. That's your choice. But my sister is not like that. In this day and age, men and women are equals. Marriage should be balanced, neither side is superior to the other. It's your decision to live under your husband's thumb, but don't force your twisted values onto my sister. Hank hit my sister first and hurt her badly. She only fought back to protect herself. There is absolutely no way my sister will apologize with gifts. You should be telling Hank to kneel and apologize to her instead." Serenity remained calm and firm, completely unafraid of offending Liberty's in-laws. She continued coldly, "If you think my sister wastes money and doesn't earn enough, then send her back to me. But do not ever lay a hand on her again. You may care about your son and brother, but I care about my sister just as much. And one more thing, my sister recently spent over $1,000 on clothes because I was bringing my husband to meet the family. She wanted everyone to look decent and presentable. That was not reckless spending, and you have no right to judge her based on a single incident. She hasn't bought herself anything new since marrying into your family, yet you cling to this issue like rabid dogs. Sure, you've shown some kindness, but if this is what you call generosity, then the rest of us must be saints on Mother Teresa's level." Serenity's words hit hard, leaving the mother and daughter livid. They still stubbornly believed they were right and that Liberty was at fault. "God forbid my sister didn't cook for one day." Serenity scoffed. "You all acted like Hank suddenly didn't have a wife. But honestly, it's more like my sister never had a husband in the first place. What was the point of marriage if a husband couldn't support his wife? He might as well marry a family member instead. And don't pretend my sister does nothing," Serenity continued sharply. "Mrs. Brown, you slave away at your daughter's house every day. Do you really think running a household is easy?" Mrs. Brown opened her mouth but couldn't say a word. She and her husband handled all the housework, babysat the children, and helped with homework at Chelsea's place. Truthfully, it was exhausting. The kids were loud, messy, and constantly crying. Cleaning one corner meant the kids were destroying another. Toddlers screamed, rolled on the floor, and threw tantrums over nothing. It was hellishly difficult. If not for her sense of duty to her daughter, Mrs. Brown would rather scrub toilets for a living than deal with childcare every day. "Mrs. Brown, don't play dumb," Serenity said coldly. "You know how demanding it is. So what makes you think my sister has it easy? Marriage requires effort from both sides. It's give and take, not my sister giving everything while Hank takes without shame. As I said, if you think my sister isn't good enough, send her back to me. I can support her. But if anyone lays a hand on her again, I won't be so forgiving next time. By the way, I practice self-defense. I know exactly where to hit to cripple someone. If Hank thinks he can afford the consequences, he's welcome to try. Serenity refused to back down. If Liberty had been weaker, she might have ended up hospitalized. Hank should think long and hard before raising his hand again. Chelsea suddenly sneered, "Do you really think anyone would want your sister after she leaves Hank? She's lazy, fat, and a glutton. Hank can barely stand the sight of her. Divorce? Ha! Even a retired old man wouldn't want her once she becomes a divorcee." "Chelsea!" Mrs. Brown shouted, slapping her daughter hard across the face. Chelsea shrank back under Serenity's icy glare, finally shutting her mouth, though resentment still burned in her eyes. "Serenity," Mrs. Brown said stiffly. Chelsea spoke without thinking. "Divorce is not something we want. Reconciliation is better for a family. Talking about divorce is cruel, especially when Sonny is still so young. A child shouldn't grow up in a broken home." "Yes, Hank is also at fault," Mrs. Brown added reluctantly. "He shouldn't have hit your sister, no matter how angry he was. Couples shouldn't sleep after fighting. Tell your sister to come over and bring Hank home so they can talk things out." Chapter 156. "Like us, I'm sure you want Liberty and Hank's marriage to work out," Mrs. Brown continued. "Couples argue sometimes, but they usually make up. Don't make a big deal out of this." Serenity replied coldly, "Did Hank break his legs or lose his way home? Why does my sister need to fetch him? If Liberty went to the Browns' house, she might be ganged up on again. Worse, it would imply she was admitting fault. Serenity would never allow her sister to bow her head for something she didn't do. Hank could come home whenever he wanted, or stay at his parents' place forever for all Serenity cared. At least Liberty would get some peace. Why are you being so difficult?" Mrs. Brown snapped. "As long as Hank isn't living at home, he won't give your sister a single cent. And if she can't support herself, she shouldn't even think about stepping foot in our house again." With that, Mrs. Brown dragged Chelsea away. "We'll see how long you and your sister can hold out," she shouted from the doorway. Serenity stood there expressionless, forcing herself not to smash anything. Her sister had married the wrong man, and ended up with the worst in-laws imaginable. People always said women should look carefully at a man's character and family before marriage. Sadly, Liberty had learned that lesson too late. "Serenity, you're way too nice," Jasmine exploded. "If it were me, I'd have beaten them out with a broom. I've never seen people so shameless. They're almost on par with your relatives." "I can't hit them unless they get violent," Serenity said quietly, "but I..." "Don't waste your emotions on trash," Jasmine cut in. "You're single. Take a good look at a man and his family before marriage. Choose wrong, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life." Liberty had given everything to a worthless man. Serenity could only hope her sister would find the courage to divorce Hank soon. She knew Liberty hesitated because divorce meant a brutal custody battle for Sonny and an uncertain future. "I would never marry into a family like that," Jasmine said angrily. "All they talk about is obedience. Are they looking for a daughter-in-law or a slave? They treat your sister like a free nanny, one who's expected to shut up and take abuse." "TCH. Jasmine spat. "Liberty needs a job, something flexible. Once she has income and stability, she can divorce him. What's the point of keeping a man like Hank?" Hank was petty, stingy, abusive, and obsessed with controlling his wife. Men like him deserve to be discarded without hesitation. Chapter 157. "I need to talk to my sister. This situation can't continue, she deserves better treatment. Liberty would always struggle without a source of income. What if we ask your sister to work at our shop? I'll cover her wages, so you won't have to spend anything. That way, Liberty can also take care of Sonny. That would be an added bonus." Jasmine genuinely cared about Liberty's well-being. Serenity sighed. "My sister won't accept the offer. She thinks our business isn't thriving because I run an online venture for extra income. In reality, the shop was actually making a profit. However, Liberty was unwilling to earn money at Serenity's expense, and no amount of persuasion would change her mind. Liberty has a background in finance. I'll ask Sean if Low Enterprise is hiring right now. It would be fantastic to get Liberty into my uncle's company. While it may not compare to York Corporation or Stone Group, it's still a decent place with reasonable benefits. Sean could also keep an eye out for Liberty. She has extensive experience in her field. Serenity pondered for a moment before asking, "Do you think it's feasible?" It's been 3 years since her last job, and she's been out of touch with the professional world for quite a while. She'd essentially be starting over. Sean is still learning the ropes in his family's business, so he might not be in a position to hire my sister. Aren't you having lunch with Sean this weekend? You could ask him then. I'll also talk to my uncle about the possibility of hiring her, Jasmine suggested, noting that her uncle was the manager of Low Enterprise. All right. I'll talk to Sean about my sister. Thank you, Jasmine. No need to thank me. What are friends for? Your sister matters to me too. Jasmine genuinely sympathized with Liberty's situation and wanted to help her become independent. Women should be self-reliant instead of overly dependent on men. Liberty's marriage had taught Jasmine an important lesson. Although Jasmine had money in the bank and planned to marry someone within her social circle, she refused to live at the mercy of a man. Don't stress too much. Liberty isn't useless. Her career is only on hold because of marriage and childbirth. Once she gets out of this mess, she'll regain her confidence and success. Still, you should encourage Liberty to go on a diet. She needs to take care of herself. She can't expect others to treat her well if she doesn't even care about herself. Jasmine always prioritized herself, and even Serenity spared no expense on high-quality skincare to maintain her appearance. I'll have a serious talk with my sister tonight, Serenity said. She also believed her sister needed to lose some weight. Liberty was 5 feet 3 inches tall and weighed only 90 pounds before marriage. Now, she had ballooned to 200 pounds. Her sister needed to slim down not just for appearances, but for her health as well. Liberty ate large portions for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, along with snacks in between. Combined with a lack of exercise, her waistline had expanded rapidly. Serenity loved eating too, but she stayed active to keep her figure in shape. Maybe I should call my sister now. Just as she pulled out her phone, it rang. It was Zachary. Mr. York. Chapter 158. As was his habit, Zachary paused briefly before asking, "Has the Brown family left? Did they do anything outrageous?" They didn't go completely overboard, but they said a lot of nasty things. I was so angry that I almost confronted them physically. They're just as ridiculous as my relatives. All they did was blame my sister and insist that everything was her fault. They even wanted her to go to their house and apologize to Hank with gifts. As if that would ever happen. Just mentioning the Browns made Serenity's blood pressure spike. Before she realized it, she clicked her tongue in irritation. She quickly caught herself and apologized, "I'm sorry, Mr. York. I got too angry. I hope you don't mind my language." Zachary replied gently, "Did you have a serious talk with them? You should have chased them off with a broom. How dare they demand your sister apologize when she's the one who was abused?" I gave them a proper dressing down, and they left pretty quickly. Jasmine even grabbed a broom, but I thought it was better to keep my composure. We're civilized people, after all. Zachary couldn't help but chuckle. Serenity wasn't naturally tolerant, but she endured everything for her sister's future, at least until Liberty made her decision. It wasn't easy on her. "Where does your brother-in-law work?" Zachary asked. He planned to contact Hank's superior and make sure Hank received some special attention, assuming he knew the boss. Waltham Electronics. It's a large company with over 3,000 employees, mainly producing electronic components. My sister and Hank both joined right after college. My sister started in the finance department and worked her way up to finance director before marriage. She was stupidly. Serenity paused briefly, then continued, gullible enough to trust Hank. After getting married, she quit her job to prepare for pregnancy. Between the pregnancy and raising the child, 3 years of her career disappeared. Meanwhile, Hank climbed the ranks and became a manager with his own secretary. "Mr. York, do you know anyone at Waltham Electronics?" "I don't know anyone personally, but I've heard of the company," Zachary replied. York Corporation also owned a subsidiary that manufactured electronic components, putting it in direct competition with Waltham Electronics. While Zachary didn't manage that subsidiary, its managing director would definitely have information about Waltham if he asked. "Let me know if you need my help," Zachary said as he adjusted his tie, a gift from Serenity. Although she had bought it with her own money as a thank you gift, Zachary often wore clothes she gave him. He planned to bring the miniature plant she made to the office after lunch so everyone could see it. With any luck, they'd look it up and buy her handicrafts online without him having to promote them openly. Callum had already recommended Serenity's crafts before, so Zachary trusted that this subtle approach would work even better. "I'll handle what I can on my own for now," Serenity said. "But I do have one favor to ask. Is your finance department hiring? My sister wants to return to work, and having an opportunity would help rebuild her confidence." After a brief pause, Zachary replied apologetically, "I'm sorry, Serenity. Our finance department is currently fully staffed." Even if York Corporation were hiring, Zachary couldn't risk exposing his identity by placing his sister-in-law there. "It's all right. I was just asking," Serenity said calmly. "My sister has the skills and experience. I believe she'll find a job and regain her confidence once she's ready." Serenity had complete faith in her sister's abilities. Chapter 159. Zachary spoke all the right words to console Serenity, even though he didn't fully believe them himself. Despite his high position, Zachary understood that hiring standards had become increasingly strict. Liberty had been out of touch with society for 3 years. Even though she had experience, her skills were likely rusty, and finding a job would probably be difficult for her. "Are you at work? Go ahead and continue with your tasks." "I'll hang up," Serenity said. "All right," Zachary replied, waiting until Serenity ended the call. After hanging up with her husband, Serenity called her sister to discuss her future plans. She didn't end the call until it was time for Liberty to start cooking. With her phone nearly out of battery, Serenity plugged it into a charger. As the afternoon approached, Zachary called the manager of Wiltspoon Hotel and arranged for 2 lunch sets. He also ordered a few additional dishes to be delivered to Bookit, the bookstore near Wiltspoon High School. The lunch was meant for Serenity. Knowing that Jasmine was at the shop and that the 2 women were best friends, Zachary ordered lunch for Jasmine as well. It was also a good opportunity to earn Miss Sox's goodwill, ensuring she would speak favorably about him in front of Serenity. Although surprised by Zachary's request, the hotel manager did not question it and immediately complied. Serenity had just finished dealing with the afternoon rush when she received a special lunch delivery. The manager of Wiltspoon Hotel personally drove to the shop to deliver the food. When he arrived, he saw students browsing through learning materials while Serenity stood nearby on her phone, placing a delivery order. Serenity and Jasmine watched in surprise as the manager walked in carrying a basket. "Excuse me, are you Miss Serenity?" the manager asked politely. His gaze landed on Serenity, and instinctively, he felt she was the one he was looking for. "Yes, I am." "And you are?" Serenity asked, since she had never seen him before. The manager placed the basket on the cashier's counter, tidied the area slightly, and began unpacking the dishes. The final items were 2 platters of sliced fruit, complimentary desserts from the hotel. Although the manager didn't know who Miss Serenity truly was, he knew she was someone important to Mr. York. Otherwise, Mr. York wouldn't have personally contacted him. The complimentary fruit platters contained some of the most expensive fruits the hotel offered. Serenity and Jasmine exchanged puzzled glances. They hadn't ordered any takeout, yet the food looked lavish and even included dessert. More importantly, the delivery person wore no uniform or logo. "Miss Serenity, I'm the manager of Wiltspoon Hotel. I received a call from Mr. York earlier. He ordered 2 lunch sets for you and has already paid. Please enjoy your meal." If you find our food satisfactory, we'd appreciate a 5-star review. So Zachary had ordered lunch for them. What surprised them most was that the hotel manager had delivered it personally. Jasmine tilted her head towards Serenity, smiling with unmistakable envy. Mr. York was becoming more and more considerate toward her best friend. Chapter 160. It probably wouldn't be long before Serenity and Zachary became a real couple and lived happily together. Snapping out of her thoughts, Serenity thanked the hotel manager and saw him off. She watched as he got into his car and drove away before returning to the shop. Since there were 2 lunch sets, it was obvious that one was meant for Jasmine. By the time Serenity came back inside, Jasmine had already washed her hands and was seated behind the cashier's counter. When Serenity approached, Jasmine smiled brightly and said, "Come on, let's eat. Wildspoon Hotel is a 7-star establishment. We tasted their food at the dinner party last time, and I couldn't stop thinking about it after I got home. Thanks to you, I finally get to enjoy it again." Jasmine eagerly handed Serenity the cutlery while gushing about Zachary. "I can't believe Mr. York is this thoughtful. He even arranged lunch delivery for you. He must feel bad knowing you've been eating takeout every day." "Serenity, Mr. York really has a lot of good qualities. Even though he's guarded and made you sign a 6-month contract, who knows? After spending more time together, he might break that agreement and become your lifelong partner. Just think about it." Serenity burst out laughing. "You've already switched sides just because he bought you lunch. I get along well with him, but I don't think our relationship will go any further. I'm not someone who can be bought with a single meal," Jasmine said confidently. "Besides, you're my best friend. No matter what happens, I'll always be on your side. But compared to your brother-in-law, can you honestly say Mr. York isn't one of the good ones?" The 2 women dug into their food while discussing the strengths and flaws of different men. "My brother-in-law used to pretend to be decent," Serenity said coldly. "But in the end, he couldn't even be bothered to buy his own suit. The one he wore was given to him by a woman he was vaguely interested in." Chapter 161. Surprised, the CEOs quickly turned to Josh and asked, "Mr. Butchum, does Mr. York have someone special in his life? Do you know who the lucky girl is? How interesting." Even Zachary had a chance at love, though the odds seemed slim. "Shoo," Josh lowered his voice. "You have to keep this a secret, or Mr. York will scold me for being nosy and gossiping. Mr. York hasn't fallen in love yet, he's just somewhat interested in a girl. Knowing his personality, once he truly falls for someone, he'll announce it to the whole world. Mr. York would make it public to keep admirers like Elisa from pestering him." The CEOs nodded in agreement. It was reassuring to learn that Mr. York was interested in women. One of the CEOs began to calculate possibilities. He had a daughter who was of marrying age. Since Mr. York was straight, the CEO planned to bring his daughter along during business meetings at York Corporation. Who knew? She might catch Mr. York's eye. After all, the woman Mr. York was interested in hadn't been officially acknowledged as his girlfriend yet. It was fair competition. Unaware that his right-hand man had casually sold him out, Zachary was in a good mood when he received a call from his wife. A faint smile appeared on his face, though his voice remained deep and restrained. "Yes. I just wanted to check on you. Are you on break? Am I interrupting anything?" Serenity asked, worried she might be calling at the wrong time during his midday break. "I'm having lunch." "Oh." Serenity replied, "Why are you eating so late? I know work gets busy, but you still need to eat on time. Don't starve yourself." "All right." It wasn't the first time someone had shown concern for him, but Serenity's words made Zachary feel unexpectedly warm. "Warmest regards. Mr. York, thank you for sending lunch. The food was amazing, and the fruit was very fresh too," Serenity said sincerely. The service from such a high-end hotel was truly impressive. Zachary's tone remained neutral. "I had a late lunch meeting at Wildspoon Hotel. You order takeout every day, and that isn't healthy if it becomes a habit, so I ordered a few dishes and had the manager deliver them. Try not to order takeout so often." If you want, I can arrange daily meal deliveries from the hotel. Zachary trusted the hotel under York Corporation's name, and since he personally handled the arrangements, he felt it was safer for Serenity than random takeout. Jasmine and I would cook if we had the time, Serenity replied. We only order takeout when we're busy. Please don't make this a daily thing. Wilt Spoon Hotel is the best in the city, and while the food is excellent, it must be expensive. It's fine once in a while, but we can't afford it every day. Even though Zachary earned a high salary, he still worked for someone else. Serenity earned around $20,000 a month. With her online business booming this month, her income had risen to nearly $30,000. Despite that, she was careful with money. She saved 70% of her income each month, either depositing it into savings or investing in low-risk financial products. Zachary paused briefly before replying, then cook at home more often and stop ordering takeout. If you keep doing it, I'll just send food to your shop anyway. Worst case, I'll spend all my money on food. All right, Serenity said helplessly. I'll buy groceries at the supermarket near our home and cook instead of eating out. Just don't send hotel food every day, we really can't afford it. We eat to live, not live to eat. Zachary listened silently. To him, Serenity seemed like an ordinary working woman. She knew he had a white-collar job but had no idea how much he earned. She was simply worried that careless spending would drain their finances. It was obvious she wasn't after his money. In fact, after spending more time with her, Zachary realized he had completely misjudged her intentions regarding his finances. Chapter 162. I got my salary today, Zachary said. I'll transfer your living expenses later. Use it for food and daily necessities. Don't be overly frugal. It's fine, Serenity replied. We still have plenty left from the $100,000 you gave me last time. We've kept expenses low, so we haven't spent much of it. The furniture had cost tens of thousands, but that was a one-time expense. The remaining money could last for months. Besides, Serenity had no intention of constantly relying on his money. Just save whatever you don't use, Zachary said. Men are careless with money. Keep what I send you as an emergency fund. Otherwise, I'll end up spending everything myself. Serenity thought for a moment before agreeing. All right. She planned to keep detailed records of all transactions. Every amount Zachary transferred would be saved and documented. That way, it would be easy to split everything clearly if they ever divorced. Mr. York, I shouldn't keep you from your work any longer, Serenity said. I might come home late tonight. Just leave the door unlocked. You don't need to wait up, Zachary replied. Serenity had never waited up for him before, but he felt compelled to say it. Okay. Serenity ended the call without another word. Zachary understood her attitude. She truly didn't care whether he came home early or late. This was part of their agreement, she wasn't allowed to interfere in his personal affairs. After a brief pause, Zachary transferred $20,000 to her account. Serenity accepted the transfer. Seeing that she had received the money instantly lifted Zachary's mood. It felt natural. The husband earned the money, the wife managed it. Serenity leaned against the counter and took a short nap before taking out her tools and materials to continue her handicraft work. Not long after, the sound of a car stopping outside broke the silence. As sharp footsteps in high heels approached, Serenity turned toward the entrance. Miss Stone, she exclaimed in surprise. It was Elisa. Elisa had originally planned a beach vacation with her mother, but Serenity suddenly came to mind. Before the holidays, she wanted to see her again. Serenity had left a strong impression on her, and Elisa felt an inexplicable desire to get closer to her. I finally found you, Elisa said with a smile, handing over a bag. I waited for you to contact me, but you never did. I found this place through your, rather eccentric relatives. This is a small gift for you. Inside was an expensive skincare set. Serenity accepted it naturally and smiled. You're too kind, Miss Stone. You're welcome to visit anytime, but you really didn't need to bring a gift. Please don't misunderstand, Elisa explained. I bought an extra set and had no use for it, so I thought I'd give it to you. In truth, Elisa had bought it specifically for Serenity. She made up the excuse to prevent Serenity from feeling pressured or obligated. To Elisa, the skincare set was insignificant. While it might be costly to ordinary people, it was nothing to her. Chapter 163. Serenity, did you make these? They're beautiful, Elisa praised as she admired Serenity's handiwork. She picked up a newly crafted manekiniko and examined it closely. Wow, it's so pretty. I can give you a few if you'd like, Miss Stone. They're not worth much, Serenity said casually. I love them. I love them so much. Elisa nodded enthusiastically. Thank you. She then asked, do you sell these, Serenity? Yes. I run an online business selling these small crafts. Sales have been pretty good, and this month has been my best so far. Elisa smiled warmly. Send me the link to your online store later. I'll share it on Facebook to help promote your business. They're really beautiful. Now that Elisa knew about Serenity's business, she was eager to support her. If someone of Elisa's status appreciated Serenity's crafts, others would surely follow. Even those who didn't share the same taste would likely buy them simply because of Elisa's recommendation. After all, Elisa's influence among Wiltspun's elite was significant. Thank you, Ms. Stone. I really appreciate it, Serenity said sincerely. She offered Elisa a seat and poured her a glass of water. After chatting briefly, Serenity asked, what brings you here today? Do you need my help with anything? Truthfully, Serenity couldn't imagine how she could help Elisa, the heiress of the Stone Group. Just days ago, Jasmine had been gossiping about the scandal involving the York family heir and Elisa. Now, Elisa was sitting in her shop, speaking to her as though they had known each other for years. Fate worked in strange ways. It was unexpected for an ordinary woman like Serenity to befriend a true heiress like Elisa, just as it was surprising that she had become close to Jasmine, whose family was worth tens of millions. Yet here they were. On her way home tonight, Serenity decided she would buy 2 lottery tickets. Perhaps luck would smile on her again. Elisa smiled and said, people don't visit without a reason, right? Yes, I do need your help. Serenity looked at her quietly, waiting. From Serenity's perspective, Elisa seemed to have everything: beauty, elegance, a great figure, and high social status. She imagined that Elisa would look perfect beside the York family heir, though she had never met him and didn't know what he looked like. The York heir was said to be arrogant and aloof. Still, he must be exceptionally attractive for Elisa to be so infatuated. Serenity couldn't help but wonder, who is more attractive, the York heir or my own man? The York family had been a prestigious clan for generations. Serenity, we've both been trending on Twitter, so you already know what's been happening in my life, and I know a little about yours, Elisa said earnestly. I'll be direct. Please don't laugh at me. I want to talk to you about Mr. York. You know how much I like him. I've had a crush on him for years. I've tried to give up, but I can't suppress my feelings anymore. I want to confess to him and try to win his heart. We're both single. I'm not doing anything immoral or unethical by pursuing him. But no one supports me. My sister-in-law was initially on my side, but she changed her mind after my brother spoke to her. We've only met once, but I feel like we connected. I see you as a friend, which is why I'm telling you all this. Is it wrong to love someone? What's wrong with trying? Elisa was visibly distressed. Chapter 164. Not only did Elisa's family oppose her pursuit of Zachary, but even her closest friends advised her to give up, insisting that winning him over would be nearly impossible. On top of that, the Stone Group and the York family were business rivals. Only Serenity encouraged her to take a chance. That was why Elisa confided in Serenity, treating her as a trusted listener. I would never pursue Mr. York if he were married or already in a relationship, no matter how outstanding he is, Elisa said firmly. I consider myself a good catch. I don't need to steal someone else's man. But the truth is, he's single. Since I've finally met someone I like, I have to try. Even if I fail, I won't regret it. Elisa laid her feelings bare. Serenity knew Elisa was confident, even spoiled and willful at times, but she also knew Elisa had every right to be that way. To Serenity, Elisa was simply a girl hopelessly in love. She seemed emotionally stable and clear-headed. Serenity had heard gossip about Mr. York at the dinner party she attended with Jasmine. She knew he was single. The York heir was always surrounded by bodyguards to keep women at a distance. He never gave anyone a chance. Yet Elisa had boldly expressed her interest in public, making headlines alongside him. "You're not wrong, Miss Stone," Serenity said calmly. "Everyone has the right to pursue true love. As you said, Mr. York is single and unattached, and you're single as well. There's nothing illegal or immoral about your actions. What you're doing is perfectly normal." Elisa nodded. "Serenity, you're the first person who has ever supported me in pursuing Mr. York." She finally understood why she had come here. She wanted to confide in the one person who didn't judge her. "Serenity, have you ever been in a relationship?" "Me? I dated a guy once in college, but it ended after graduation when we went our separate ways. Many student relationships ended that way." Who broke up with whom? Do you know how to make the first move? Can you share some tips with me?" Serenity smiled faintly. "It was just puppy love. It ended almost as soon as it began. No one really initiated the breakup. We just drifted apart. We went shopping together and ate meals together. We graduated before we even held hands. After that, we went our separate ways." Elisa was speechless for a moment. "That's awful, Serenity. Your relationship ended before it even started. It was a bit unfortunate. I haven't dated anyone since." "That's fine," Elisa said cheerfully. "I'll stay single with you." Serenity laughed. "There's nothing wrong with being single. I enjoy my freedom. Once you get married, family becomes your responsibility. Being single is far more comfortable." Just like her sister. Although Serenity was no longer technically single, she had entered a contract marriage with Zachary. Since they weren't allowed to reveal it, her life felt no different from before. Still single, at least on the surface. Chapter 165. Girls pursuing boys isn't all that different from boys pursuing girls. Invest in his interests and stay persistent. Your efforts will pay off. If you keep asking him out, he's bound to say yes. Elisa thought for a moment before responding. "I know I should be persistent. To be honest, my sister-in-law made the first move on my brother. I witnessed the whole thing. At the time, my brother was just like Mr. York, aloof, detached, and indifferent. My sister-in-law was constantly around my brother, and eventually, her persistence wore him down. There was a period when she wanted to give up and stopped appearing around him. Surprisingly, my brother had already grown accustomed to her presence. When she was gone, he realized how much he missed her, and that made him more open about his feelings. Now, my brother is known throughout Wiltspoon for absolutely doting on his wife." Elisa envied the marriage between her brother and sister-in-law. It had begun with struggles similar to what she was facing now, yet in the end, her brother had fallen deeply in love with his wife. Even after marriage, he remained utterly infatuated with her. Serenity had never imagined that the wife of the CEO of the Stone Group had been the one to initiate their relationship and ultimately win his heart. Smiling, she said, "Your sister-in-law is a successful example. You should seek her advice." "She won't help me anymore," Elisa said with a sigh. "My brother told her not to. She tried to support me at first, but since my family refused to cooperate, she eventually chose to stay out of it." Serenity gave Elisa a sympathetic look. An heiress from a wealthy family often had little say in her own marriage. Serenity had heard that many marriages among the wealthy and influential were arranged. "What does he like?" Serenity asked. "You could give him a small gift every day. They say the fastest way to a man's heart is through his stomach, so why not bring him food daily? Keep trying, even if he pushes you away or makes you feel embarrassed. One day, he might give in. You mentioned that your brother only realized how much he needed your sister-in-law when she stopped showing up. Isn't that interesting? You could also create some coincidental encounters. Wait for him along one of his usual routes and pretend to be in trouble, play the damsel in distress or something. As long as his heart isn't completely cold, he'll probably help you. That would give you a chance to interact. Serenity offered Elisa several practical suggestions, guiding her on how to create opportunities to spend time alone with Mr. York through planned encounters. She firmly believed that feelings could develop once two people spent enough time together. Of course, love at first sight existed, but not everyone felt sparks during their first meeting. Elisa felt that Serenity's words made a lot of sense. Thank you for the advice. If I ever marry into the York family and become Mrs. York, I'll reward you generously, Elisa said sincerely. Serenity smiled. You can just invite me to the wedding. The elite always hosted banquets at the best hotels, and Serenity was especially fond of good food. Absolutely. You'll be my maid of honor if I win Mr. York's heart. Go for it. I'll be ready to stand beside you as your maid of honor. Serenity cheered Elisa on with genuine encouragement. Okay, I can do this. I will win him over. After a pause, Serenity added, can I be honest with you about something? Elisa nodded. What? Are you saying you've been dishonest with me? Elisa asked. Serenity smiled. Not exactly. I've seen the gossip about you and Mr. York. The tabloids portray you as spoiled and difficult to deal with. Since we've only just met, I can't say I know you well. But if that's the image the media is pushing, you might want to consider changing a few things. Maybe Mr. York is turned off by that kind of girl. Chapter 166. Elisa was left speechless. Was she really bratty and willful? After giving it some thought, Elisa had to admit that she did behave like a spoiled child at times. This was largely because she was the Stones' favorite. While her family's affection hadn't made her arrogant, Elisa wasn't the easiest person to get along with. She wouldn't hesitate to dismiss anyone she disliked if they lingered around her. She paid little attention to other people's feelings. Even her relatives weren't spared. After a moment, Elisa spoke earnestly. Thank you for telling me this, Serenity. No one has ever pointed out my flaws so directly. Serenity thought to herself, who would dare say something like that to you? She had only been so blunt because she wasn't part of Elisa's social circle. Besides, Elisa regarded her as a kind of love mentor. Seren. Jasmine, who had just woken up from her afternoon nap, came out after overhearing voices. She rubbed her eyes and froze when she saw Elisa. A stranger? Still, there was something oddly familiar about the girl. Jasmine felt as though she had seen her somewhere before. She had never met Elisa in person, but she had seen her photo online before. That was why Elisa looked familiar. Previously, while discussing Mr. York, Jasmine had even remarked that Elisa and Mr. York looked well matched. You're awake, Jasmine. Serenity waved her over and introduced her. Miss Stone, this is my best friend and business partner, Jasmine. Although Elisa didn't connect with Jasmine as naturally as she had with Serenity, she still nodded politely out of respect. Jasmine froze when she realized that the proud and beautiful woman before her was the sister of the CEO of the Stone Group, the same woman who had boldly pursued Mr. York. Her widened eyes and slightly open mouth amused Elisa. While Elisa was open and relaxed with Serenity, she became more reserved around others. With Jasmine now awake, Elisa stood up and excused herself. Miss Stone, this manekiniko is for you, Serenity said, handing her the lucky catch she had originally prepared for Zachary. Since she was already married to him, delaying the gift by a few days didn't matter. Elisa accepted the gift happily and asked again for the link to Serenity's online store. As Serenity wrapped the manekiniko in a gift bag, Elisa said, I'll be going to the beach with my mom this afternoon. We have a seaside villa there and plenty of fresh seafood. I'll bring you some when I come back. Serenity loved seafood far too much to refuse. I'll look forward to it, she replied with a smile. Serenity was exactly the kind of friend Elisa wanted, straightforward, sincere, and unpretentious. She accepted or rejected gifts openly based on her preferences and never put on airs. Elisa herself wasn't a snob. She was willing to befriend anyone she genuinely connected with, regardless of background or status. In that sense, she was very much like Grandma May. Chapter 167. After Elisa left, Jasmine asked curiously, "Saren, how do you know Miss Stone? She even came to the shop looking for you." Serenity told Jasmine the whole story, how Elisa had flagged down her e-bike and how she had ended up taking her to York Corporation. After a moment of silence, Jasmine responded, "Really?" She admired Elisa's courage and determination to pursue the heir of the York family. "I don't think Miss Stone is as unreasonable as the rumors claim. Her haughtiness probably comes from her upbringing, but she hasn't lost her sense of right and wrong. Even though she likes Mr. York, she clearly said she wouldn't pursue him if he were already in a relationship. Elisa's pride wouldn't allow her to interfere in someone else's romance." Jasmine nodded. "She sounds like a decent person. Since we're not part of her social circle, we can't truly judge her character without interacting with her. Rumors aren't always reliable. Sometimes even seeing isn't believing, and hearsay is even worse." Given Elisa's status, it was likely that those who envied her deliberately spread rumors portraying her as obnoxious, domineering, and rude. Elisa's visit didn't affect Serenity much. She went on with her day as usual while Jasmine continued pestering her to attend Mrs. So-and-so's birthday party. The party's at the Dawsons' mansion. They're neighbors of my aunt and business partners too. My aunt wouldn't invite me if they weren't close. Come with me, Saren. My aunt is trying to set me up with her neighbor's eldest son. Jasmine vaguely remembered the Dawson son. She had seen him during her visits to her aunt's house. The young heir of the Dawson family was rather plump and, at best, average-looking. No one would call him handsome. If he weren't born into wealth and status, passers-by might even do a double-take seeing him on the street. Not everyone in high society had good looks. "Mrs. Lowe is taking you to prepare for a date. Why do I need to go?" Serenity asked. "It's different this time. It's Mrs. Dawson's birthday party. I'm not going alone." Serenity stayed firm and refused. Although many people would attend, she would know only a few. Food was the only temptation, but loving food didn't mean she wanted to embarrass herself. The upper class would never stuff their faces the way she did. "You're my best friend. Come and help me check him out," Jasmine pleaded. "Your aunt can judge whether he's suitable without my help. Mrs. Lowe has more experience than I do. You're her niece, she won't sabotage you. Since she's planning this, you should at least give it a try. It's better than those so-called elite men your mom introduced you to." Jasmine snapped back, "That man isn't good-looking at all. He's short and overweight. He's still single at 35 because of his looks. That's why Mrs. Dawson is panicking and lowering her standards, even considering marriages outside her usual circle. My aunt thinks this is a chance for me to marry up. She doesn't care about what I want. She even called my mom to gang up on me. I had no choice but to agree. Now my mom keeps nagging me, saying we're the same age, yet you're married while I'm still single. Is it a crime to be single at 25? Jasmine felt suffocated. She wasn't even 35, yet her mother and aunt constantly pressured her to marry. Her mother hadn't been this obsessive before Serenity got married. Now, everything Jasmine did seemed wrong. Her mother could find fault with even the air she breathed, and Jasmine feared she'd never have peace unless she started dating. "So you don't like the Dawson's son because he's ugly?" Serenity asked. Serenity believed that Mrs. Lowe wasn't obsessed only with status, she cared about character too. Jasmine was still her niece. Mrs. Lowe wouldn't push her into marrying a truly terrible man unless she was ready to cut ties with Jasmine's family. Chapter 168. Jasmine pursed her lips. "He's not just a bit ugly. I'm afraid that if I marry an ugly man, my baby might turn out ugly too. Your situation is perfect. You and your husband are both good-looking, so your child will definitely be attractive. She would rather marry a hard-working salaried man like Serenity did. Even if Mr. York hadn't been born wealthy, he had climbed his way into a senior white-collar position at York Corporation through sheer effort. Anyone who could enter York Corporation's headquarters was already among the elite. After a short pause, Serenity replied, "You should stop reading so many romance novels. You've read yourself into thinking you'll meet some young, handsome, rich CEO like the ones in those stories, men who fall madly in love with the heroine at first sight. Jasmine, that's fiction. Where are you going to find that many young CEOs in real life? The CEO of York Corporation is young because he inherited a centuries-old family business. How can ordinary men compete with someone born into privilege? Meeting a man like Mr. York is already impossible, winning him over is even more unrealistic." Jasmine opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. She had nothing to say. Everyone wanted to be the heroine of a romance novel. Still, Jasmine wasn't chasing some powerful CEO. That kind of man didn't appeal to her anyway. "Seren, please come with me just this once." "Not happening." "Are we still friends?" Serenity didn't even look up. "We are." "Then shouldn't you help a friend in trouble?" "I'll help when you're actually in trouble. You're going on a blind date. I'm not rescuing you from an innocent man. Please, Seren. Just this once. I swear it'll be the last time. Think about the food." Jasmine begged. "The lunch from Wiltspoon Hotel today was already amazing," Serenity replied calmly. Seeing Jasmine refuse to give up, Serenity used her final excuse. "I'm going on a date with my man to strengthen our bond." Jasmine was completely stunned. Serenity noticed that Jasmine looked miserable for the rest of the afternoon. She forced herself to ignore her friend's resentful stares as she declined yet another invitation. Since Zachary wouldn't be home early due to work, Serenity stayed at the shop and told Jasmine to leave early. Unable to persuade her, Jasmine reluctantly grabbed her bag and went home. Left alone, Serenity called her sister and learned that her brother-in-law still hadn't returned. She sighed. It seemed increasingly unlikely that her sister's marriage would survive much longer. Though Serenity didn't wish for Liberty and Hank to reconcile, she worried about her nephew. Children always suffered the most when their parents separated. Sonny was only 2 years old and had always been raised by Liberty. If Liberty wanted custody, she would need a stable source of income. Chapter 169. It was 11 o'clock at night when Serenity finished closing the shop. She rode her e-bike home. "Drive safely, Serenity," the female shop owner next door said kindly. Serenity smiled and replied, "I will." As she watched Serenity's figure disappear into the distance, the shop owner murmured, "She's such an independent young woman, even after everything she's been through. It's wonderful that she stood up to those exploitative relatives and refused to give in to their unreasonable demands. Just watch, Serenity will overcome all the negativity. Her destiny is bright and she's bound for success. Things are hardest before they get better. Those who bullied her will regret it." The shop owner then turned to her husband and pursed her lips. "You're always into that mystical mumbo-jumbo. Why don't you start a fortune-telling business? Maybe you can give me a reading. When will I get rich? Hurry up and move everything inside so we can close up. We still need to wash up and sleep," she added. It was unrealistic to think her husband could become a professional tarot reader just by skimming a few astrology books. If it were that easy, anyone could call themselves a fortune teller. Serenity arrived home at 11:30 and opened the door to a dark house. Since Zachary hadn't returned yet, she left the door unlocked. The large house felt empty with only the two of them living there, especially since they were both often busy with work. Feeling slightly hungry, Serenity went to the kitchen and opened the fridge to check the ingredients. In the end, she took out butter, milk, and Parmesan cheese to make herself a plate of macaroni and cheese. Hearing movement at the door, Serenity stepped out of the kitchen and saw Zachary walk in. "Welcome back, Mr. York," she greeted him. Zachary glanced at her and hummed in response. After locking the door, he walked over and asked, "Did you just get home?" Jasmine left early today, so I stayed behind at the shop. I usually get home around 11:30, Serenity explained. I'm making mac and cheese for supper. Would you like some? Zachary shook his head. No, thank you. He wasn't hungry. Food and drinks had been served at the social event earlier that evening. Since he declined, Serenity made herself a plate of mac and cheese. She noticed Zachary sitting quietly on the sofa, neither watching TV nor using his phone. Sensing something off, she asked, "Is something bothering you, Mr. York?" "No," he replied flatly. Zachary placed his phone on the coffee table and stood up to remove his suit jacket. He glanced at Serenity. Understanding his meaning, she put down her plate and took the jacket from him. Smiling, she asked, "Should I take off your tie too?" Zachary remained silent, which she took as permission. She carefully removed his tie and examined it. "This tie looks familiar. Did I buy this for you?" Zachary murmured under his breath, "That took long enough." Maintaining his usual blank expression, he nodded. Serenity was surprised. She had assumed he wouldn't wear the clothes she bought for him, so she hadn't expected to see him wearing them to work so soon. "Should I wash the jacket and tie for you?" she asked. "No. Just hang them up. I'll take care of the laundry later." They each had their own washing machines and handled their laundry separately. After hanging up the suit jacket as instructed, Serenity returned to the dining table. While eating her mac and cheese, she pulled out her phone and scrolled through the news. "Is my maneki ready?" Zachary suddenly asked. Chapter 170. I already made the maneki, but when Miss Stone came by unexpectedly, she saw it and immediately loved it. "Since we live together, I thought I could make another one for you anytime," Serenity explained. Zachary's expression darkened as he fixed her with an intense stare. Serenity hesitated. "Are you angry, Mr. York?" Zachary frowned and replied coldly, "How can I not be angry when you gave something meant for me to someone else without even asking?" Worse still, she had given it to Elisa. Did Serenity realize that Elisa was pursuing her husband? How could she casually hand over his maneki to her rival? That was far too generous. Serenity stopped scrolling through her phone. Holding her plate, she walked over while still eating and sat beside him. "I'm sorry, Mr. York. It's my fault," she said softly. "I'll make it up to you tomorrow. Please don't be mad." Zachary shot her a dark look, his lips pressed tightly together. Seeing that he was still upset, Serenity pushed her plate toward him. "Why don't you try some of my supper?" Zachary grimaced. "How can you expect me to eat something you've already eaten?" He had a slight obsession with cleanliness and refused to eat food that someone else had touched. "I only took a few bites," Serenity said quickly. "If it bothers you, forget it. I'm hungry anyway." She pulled the plate back and continued eating. "Honestly, I'm a great cook. Even simple mac and cheese tastes amazing when I make it." "Your loss." "Don't change the subject, Serenity," Zachary said. "We're talking about the maneki. I already gave it away." "You can't expect me to ask Miss Stone for it back," Serenity replied. "She said she's going on a beach holiday with her mother, so she probably isn't even in the city anymore. Besides, I don't know where she lives." The residences of wealthy families were heavily guarded and luxurious. Even if Serenity knew Elisa's address, she wouldn't get past the gates. "I'm sorry. This is my fault. I shouldn't have given the maneki meant for you to Miss Stone without asking first," Serenity admitted. "She said it was beautiful and that she really liked it, so I gave it to her. How about this, I'll make you 2 more. 1 maneki and 1 golden dragon. What do you think?" She reminded herself never to give away something meant for him again. She hadn't realized how strict he was about such things. Still, it was her mistake. The tension in Zachary's jaw slowly eased. Make sure it never happens again. When Serenity gave away something meant for him, Zachary felt as though she didn't value him. What irritated him even more was that she hadn't even noticed the suit jacket he had taken off earlier was a gift from her. Normally, she was observant. Even Josh had noticed that Zachary dressed differently today. Yet Serenity, who lived with him, remained oblivious. His frustration resurfaced, and his relaxed features tightened once again. Serenity nodded quickly. There won't be a next time. It had taken an extra dragon just to calm him down. Though her crafts weren't worth much money, Serenity poured hours of effort into every piece. "Mr. York," she said after nearly finishing her meal. Glancing at his still unhappy expression, she made up her mind. "Why don't you choose a design you like, and I'll make it specially for you. Exclusively for you." Chapter 171. As Zachary glanced at Serenity's pasta dish, a wave of frustration washed over him. There she was, enjoying her meal, while he sat beside her, troubled. She seemed so heartless. Their relationship was unlike that of other couples. It was a marriage of convenience, devoid of any emotional connection. Suppressing his irritation, Zachary asked glumly, "Isn't Miss Stone the heiress of Stone Group? Why did she reach out to you? How do you know each other?" Zachary pretended to be ignorant, even though he had obtained the information directly from Elisa and had never mentioned her to Serenity. Serenity began recounting how she met Elisa, and her story matched Elisa's version perfectly. "Miss Stone confided in me about her feelings for the heir of the Yorks. Her decision to pursue Mr. York wasn't well received by her family, and she felt dejected. She asked me for advice on how to get closer to him." Zachary raised an eyebrow. Did Elisa really seek Serenity's help to win him over? With a straight face, he asked, "What suggestions did you give her? Have you ever pursued a guy?" "I lack experience. My first relationship ended before it truly began. I'm pretty much a novice when it comes to dating." Tilting her head, Serenity looked at Zachary and added, "But I'm still better off than you. You're even more inexperienced than I am." "Ugh. You flinched when I touched your face. You act as if I'm some sort of creep." Zachary grimaced and shot her a disapproving look. Serenity chuckled before returning her attention to her plate of pasta, even licking up the last remnants of cheese sauce. Once finished, she patted herself on the back. "My mac and cheese is the best. Let's have pasta tomorrow." "Ha!" Zachary reached out and poked her forehead before reprimanding her. "Aren't you trying to get me to eat because you keep bragging about your mac and cheese? Fine, we'll have it tomorrow." Serenity swatted his hand away. "I'm pretty good at cooking. Your family said my food was delicious. Alright, I'll make you some pasta tomorrow if that's what you want." "Did you give Miss Stone any tips on how to win over Mr. York?" he asked again. "I guess so. I taught her everything she needs to know to get Mr. York's attention. She should play the damsel in distress along the route he frequently takes. I'm sure he'd come to her rescue as long as his heart isn't made of stone. That way, they'd have a chance to spend time together if Mr. York extends a helping hand. Feelings develop through bonding time. All they need is a moment alone. I don't really know what Mr. York looks like. He was at the party Jasmine dragged me to, but he was surrounded by a crowd. Plus, he had a group of bodyguards, so I didn't get a chance to see him up close." Serenity kept her gaze on Zachary as she spoke. "You can't even meet your boss at work, let alone outsiders. If I had a say, your boss is far too proud. He won't give Miss Stone the time of day. I'm sure he'd fall for her if he got to know her." Zachary struggled to suppress his anger. Maintaining a calm demeanor, he replied coldly, "My boss will never fall in love with Miss Stone. Serenity, you'd better stay out of it. If my boss ever finds out you're the one advising Miss Stone on romance, he might take his frustration out on you. Your bookshop could end up closing down. Not to mention, your husband could also lose his job." Serenity blinked in surprise. "Is your boss really that petty? Everyone has the right to love. What's wrong with Miss Stone having feelings for him? I've heard that no one has ever asked him out, and he doesn't have a girlfriend, despite being older and practically a middle-aged man. Since Miss Stone took the initiative to pursue him, it shows he has his own appeal. He should be grateful to Miss Stone for that. What kind of reasoning is this?" Chapter 172. Zachary was only 30 years old. How could that be considered old? Serenity had mentioned multiple times that he was a middle-aged man. Zachary credited his meditation practice for keeping him composed, as Serenity's remarks were hurtful enough to threaten his self-control. "My boss isn't old. He's not middle-aged," Zachary asserted, gathering himself. Serenity looked at him quizzically. "I thought you said you've never met your boss. How do you know he isn't middle-aged? Do you really think someone young can manage a massive company like York Corporation? Although the business world isn't my area of expertise, I understand how significant York Corporation is in Wiltspoon. It's in direct competition with that other firm and company in Annenberg." Zachary responded with a mock eye roll. FC and Company. Much like York Corporation, FC and Company in Annenberg was a major player in its city. The multi-billionaire Johnson family backed FC and Company, and its current CEO, Ben Young Johnson, was a year younger than Zachary. FC and Company had subsidiaries in Wiltspoon but posed no business threat to York Corporation. This lack of rivalry allowed the two giants to coexist peacefully. "I don't know the name," Serenity said, "but I can assure you it's an impressive corporation. Do you really think your boss can manage his senior executives if he's young? Can he lead the company decisively as the CEO?" Zachary nodded. "So, he must be old," she continued. "Otherwise, he wouldn't have the experience or authority to manage his senior executives effectively." Zachary was left speechless. While Serenity had a point, he didn't consider himself old. Still, if 30 was considered old, then so be it. "Miss Stone and I connected well. She was courageous in pursuing true love. After all, Mr. York is single. I fully support her in her endeavors. Miss Stone was on a quest for true love, unless Mr. York unexpectedly married or started dating someone. She had stated that she would give up if he were already taken, as she valued her pride and would not become the other woman. I believe Miss Stone embodies the right values. She won't interfere in someone else's marriage or relationship in her pursuit of true love," Serenity added. Upon hearing this, Zachary's dark eyes brightened. He considered revealing to Elisa that he was married but decided to keep his wife's identity a secret. Though Elisa might not have malicious intentions, Zachary was unsure how she would react if she learned that his wife was Serenity. As long as they hadn't signed the divorce papers, Serenity remained his wife, and her safety was his top priority. "Did Miss Stone actually say that?" he asked. "Yes, she did. My boss is tired of Miss Stone's advances. I could pass along her statement to him. He might rush into marriage just to get rid of her," Zachary suggested. Serenity chuckled. "Zachary, knowing your boss, do you think he's that kind of person? He doesn't even have a girlfriend. Who would he marry? Sure, he could announce that he's looking to settle down, and many women would be eager to marry him. But would he really be happy marrying someone he has no feelings for?" Zachary silently thought, "I married a woman who doesn't have feelings for me." Chapter 173. "I do have a suggestion, but since I'm on Miss Stone's side, I can't share it with you." Serenity picked up her plate and utensils, stood up, and walked into the kitchen. Zachary quietly watched as she disappeared from view. After a while, he got up and followed her. Leaning against the doorframe, he asked seriously, "You've only just met Miss Stone. Why are you already on her side? Miss Stone and I may not know each other well, but I've never even met your boss. Who do you think I'd support? Miss Stone is my kind of girl. What's wrong with cheering her on in her pursuit of Mr. York? Your boss must be quite the catch. Just wait until Miss Stone has him wrapped around her little finger. He'll be all over her. Ha ha ha. This could turn into such an entertaining story. I could even write a book about it. I have plenty of free time at the shop. If my online business sales aren't great, I might as well try writing a book. It could be another source of income. I bet a story about Miss Stone pursuing Mr. York would be a bestseller. She was clearly obsessed with making money. Was the allowance he gave her not enough? It seemed like generating income was all that occupied her mind. My boss won't be swayed by Miss Stone. I stand by my boss, Zachary added. He was getting better at lying, it had become second nature to him. How about a bet? Serenity proposed. Let's wager on whether Miss Stone can win over your boss. What do you say? If you win, I owe you 3 favors, as long as they're within my capabilities. If I win, you'll take care of the laundry, cooking, and cleaning for 2 months. That means all the household chores will be your responsibility. Zachary accepted without hesitation. Let's put it in writing so we can sign it. I don't want you going back on your word. He turned around and was about to draft a wagering contract. Despite his confidence, Serenity suddenly felt uncertain. Although Zachary had no opportunity to get close to his boss at York Corporation, he still knew more about Mr. York than she did. While most men would find Miss Stone hard to resist, could Mr. York withstand her relentless pursuit? Another thought crossed her mind. What if the York heir had a different preference, as she suspected? Perhaps he leaned toward men, which would explain why he was rarely seen in the media with a woman. If that were the case, he would be completely immune to Miss Stone's advances. Mr. York! Mr. York! Snapping out of her thoughts, Serenity hurried after Zachary and asked, Are all the people around your boss men? Specifically, is your boss's secretary male? Is he handsome? Zachary's dark eyes gleamed as he replied in a low voice, What's wrong with hiring a male secretary? Plenty of executives do. The ratio of male to female secretaries is roughly equal. Serenity suddenly had an epiphany. As Zachary grabbed a pen and paper and sat down to draft the contract, she threw herself onto the table to keep the paper from moving and snatched the pen from his hand. Raising an eyebrow, Zachary stared at her with his deep, dark eyes. Mr. York, we don't really need to put this in writing. Zachary smirked. What? Can't handle the pressure? That's right. I can't. I'm not sure. What if your boss prefers good-looking men or has issues in that area? Then I'd definitely lose. Maybe we shouldn't finalize the wager. Zachary was rendered speechless. He liked men. Chapter 174. Josh would be the first to resign and distance himself if Zachary were interested in men. Was there something wrong with his masculinity? Zachary hadn't yet fallen head over heels for Serenity. However, once he decided to pursue her, he fully intended to show her his affection, and consummate their marriage. After a long pause, Zachary suddenly stood up and stormed back to his room, slamming the door behind him. The loud bang echoed his foul mood. Serenity waited until the sound faded before getting up. She picked up the paper, crumpled it into a ball, and tossed it into the trash while muttering, Good thing I thought this through. Otherwise, I would have lost to him. Today's lesson was clear: never make a bet without fully understanding your opponent, or it could blow up in your face. As for proposing the wager and then backing out, Serenity felt no guilt. It was perfectly normal to withdraw from a deal when no contract had been signed. Humming to herself, she turned off the living room lights and returned to her cozy haven. She sprawled on her bed, played on her phone for a while, then washed up and went to sleep. The next morning, Serenity pulled back the heavy curtains by the window. As soon as she opened it, a cold gust rushed into the room. Shivering, she quickly shut it again. The sky was gray, rain was clearly on the way. The chill earlier was a sign of the dropping temperature. Since Wiltspoon and Annenberg were in the same region, their weather was nearly identical. Late fall and early winter brought cold mornings and evenings, but once the sun rose, the temperature would climb again. The sudden drop in temperature, along with the looming rain, reminded everyone that it was time to put on a light jacket. Stretching, Serenity went to brush her teeth. After changing out of her pajamas, she walked into the kitchen to prepare pasta for Zachary, as he had requested the night before. When she opened the fridge, she realized they were out of fresh produce. The milk was barely enough, and she had also run out of cheese, an essential ingredient for pasta. Determined, Serenity decided to make a quick trip to the market. As she left the kitchen, Zachary emerged from his room. Dressed in a blue tracksuit and sneakers, he looked ready for a run. It's a bit chilly today, And it might rain, she said. Are you going out for a run? Don't forget to take an umbrella so you don't get soaked. Noticing Serenity carrying her purse, which held her phone and keys, he asked, Are you heading to the market? Our fridge is nearly empty. I'm going to buy groceries. Want to come with me? You could jog to the market and back. Zachary shook his head, considering the distance between Brinfield and the market. I'll just jog around the neighborhood. You can shop at the nearby supermarket. There's no need to go all the way to the market. The supermarket is more expensive, Serenity replied as she headed out. We can't afford to be extravagant. We need to stick to a budget. Zachary had no response as he watched her leave. The allowance I give you is more than enough for us to live comfortably, he said. Don't be so frugal. You should treat yourself sometimes. What's the point of earning money if we can't enjoy better food, nicer clothes, and a comfortable life? Serenity paused outside, waiting for Zachary to join her before closing and locking the door. She replied, Be grateful you married a wife who's careful with money and doesn't splurge recklessly. Do you really think you could afford me if I wasted a few $100,000 on a handbag? She patted him on the chest and added, Consider yourself lucky, my friend. You've got a good thing going. Zachary was left speechless. Chapter 175. The couple descended the stairs together. Zachary headed out for his morning run, while Serenity hopped on her e-bike to visit the market. As she mounted the bike, Zachary reminded her, Make sure to pick up extra groceries for your shop. Prepare your own lunch instead of ordering takeout. Understood, she replied. If I catch you ordering takeout again, I'll have the Wiltspoon Hotel deliver meals to you daily, he added. Serenity turned her head and shot him an annoyed look. You're such a squanderer. Zachary grimaced. Nearby, a bodyguard pretending to pass by nearly burst out laughing at Serenity's remark. Determined not to waste another moment with the squanderer, Serenity pedaled away. That girl doesn't know what's good for her. Zachary muttered after she was out of earshot. At the marketplace, Serenity bought a variety of fresh vegetables and long-lasting melons to stock the fridge. She placed the potatoes, carrots, and onions into a ventilated bag and set it on the floor. After changing out of his running clothes, Zachary came out to examine her haul. His brow twitched at the sight, but he said nothing. Serenity immediately began preparing a pasta dish. She had also bought some pork belly. First, she prepared the ingredients by slicing the pork and dicing the tomatoes, then simmered the tomatoes until they turned into a smooth puree. Zachary watched from the kitchen doorway for a moment before heading to the balcony. He sat on the swing, swaying gently as he admired the small garden. It was surprisingly relaxing, no wonder Serenity spent time here every day. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was Josh. Zachary answered quietly, mindful that his wife was in the kitchen and might overhear. What is it? Boss, Serenity's outrageous relatives have found a mediator. They're trying to resolve things with her. Matters involving the CEO's wife usually pass through Josh first, making him aware of developments early. Zachary's eyes darkened. He asked coldly, Didn't you already shut them down? No. Ending it too quickly would be too easy for them. We're letting them struggle first, bleeding them dry little by little. That's real revenge. Since they're cornered in both work and business, they're more anxious than the missus. They approached Serenity to reconcile, but she refused. Now they've turned to a mediator from some TV program. I don't care what TV program it is, Zachary said indifferently. Handle them. Don't let those people harass my wife. Josh laughed softly. You sound pissed. I'll deal with it. I'll also inform the producers that their shows will be cancelled if any mediator dares to bother the missus. These people spew nonsense without knowing the full story. They preach forgiveness when they've never suffered a day in their lives. Given everything the Hunts had done to Serenity and Liberty, anyone with basic decency would never suggest reconciliation. It was easy to talk when it wasn't their neck on the line. Boss, Josh added, did the missus pack you breakfast today? Could you ask her to make extra? I want to try her cooking. Get lost. Zachary ended the call immediately. Josh muttered on the other end, "TSK, TSK. Jealousy really doesn't suit you." Chapter 176. Things were starting to get interesting. Serenity had no idea that her husband had already dealt with another one of her troubles in just a few minutes. After cooking the spaghetti until al dente, she plated it with tomato sauce, topped it with diced pork belly and basil, and added only a light sprinkle of chili powder to her own portion. She was cautious, afraid it might be too spicy. Statistics showed that people in Wiltspoon generally preferred milder flavors. "Mr. York, breakfast is ready," Serenity called. She walked out of the kitchen with her plate and gestured for Zachary, who was still on the swing, to join her at the dining table. Zachary said nothing but got up and left the balcony. When he noticed his breakfast wasn't on the table, he quietly went into the kitchen to fetch it himself. "You can add as much chili powder as you want," Serenity said casually. "My sister loves spicy food. She mixes all kinds of hot spices into her meals." Despite sharing the same mother, the sisters had very different tastes. Serenity only added a pinch of chili powder and usually avoided spicy food altogether. Liberty, on the other hand, loved heat. She would dump chili powder into her food regardless of the dish. She even kept several potted pepper plants on her balcony, growing varieties from around the world that thrived in Wiltspoon's climate. "I don't like anything greasy or..." Serenity lifted her chin and smirked. "Oh? You can't handle greasy and spicy food? Maybe I should add extra fat and chili powder to your plate next time." Zachary fell silent. He had unintentionally exposed his weaknesses. Serenity found Zachary dull and uninteresting as she ate with a straight face, worried that dining with him would ruin her appetite. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through the news while eating. She finished quickly, even licking her plate clean. After putting her phone away, she stood to clear her dish and noticed that the spaghetti and sauce on Zachary's plate were gone, but the pork belly and basil were left untouched in one corner. Knowing that Zachary worked long hours, she had deliberately added extra pork to his plate. To her surprise, he hadn't eaten any of it. "Zachary," she said, slapping the table to get his attention. When he looked up, she pointed at his plate. "Why didn't you eat the pork?" Zachary stayed silent. As the York heir, he had eaten pork belly only a handful of times in his life. The grease and saturated fat were unbearable for him. "I can understand skipping the basil, but don't waste meat." "Pork prices have gone up," Serenity scolded. Without saying a word, Zachary picked up his plate and walked away. Watching him leave, Serenity muttered, "I would have eaten it myself if I'd known. He doesn't appreciate anything I do for him." Zachary dumped the leftovers into the trash, washed the plate, and left the kitchen. Seeing Serenity still seated at the table, he pulled out his wallet, took out a $100 bill, and handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked. "I wasted the food you bought, so I'm paying you back," he said flatly. "Stop grumbling like an old woman. I can't handle high-fat food, so next time, don't put it on my plate." It was true. He simply couldn't stomach what she did for him. Chapter 177. Serenity pushed Zachary's money aside. "I didn't know you avoid food high in saturated fat, but I'll make sure not to serve it to you next time. Just put your money away. Can you stop flaunting it? Do you think you're made of money?" Judging by how casually he brandished his cash, Zachary looked like someone who could throw around millions without blinking. If that were the case, she might as well count it properly and admit that he really was wealthy. "Why didn't you say anything while I was cooking the pork? What's the point of having a mouth if you don't use it? That's a waste of one of your 5 senses." A stack of cash was suddenly placed on her empty plate. Serenity's rant came to an abrupt halt. Without giving her a chance to return the money, Zachary turned around and walked out. Serenity stared at the cash on her plate, then lifted her gaze toward the man who was already halfway out the door. "Zachary, do I look like a beggar to you?" The door slammed shut in response. Outside, with the door closed behind him, Zachary could no longer suppress the smile spreading across his face. Inside the house, Serenity picked up the stack of bills from her plate and muttered, You really think you're something special just because you're rich? You gave me this money, I didn't ask for it. You can only buy silence for so long. Let's see how long you can keep up this act. She counted the money. It totaled a little over $2,000. TCH. Over $2,000. I dare you to throw me a sack of cash next time. Serenity scoffed at him. Zachary's so-called hush money felt mildly insulting. Still, if he liked paying her to shut up, she wasn't going to refuse. Slipping the money into her pocket, Serenity went into the kitchen to wash the dishes and tidy up. She sorted through the groceries, setting aside a few items to take to the shop for lunch before heading to work. Just as she left the house, Serenity received a call from her sister. Liberty, she answered immediately. She always prioritized her sister's calls in case something serious had happened. Seren, are you at work yet? Liberty asked. I just left the house and I'm walking down the stairs. What's wrong? Serenity replied. I fed Sunny. Can you come over and take him to your shop? I'm going to start job hunting today. The bruises on Liberty's face had faded. After talking with Serenity, she had decided to look for work and improve her diet. All right. I'll be right over. Pack Sunny's bag with toys, formula, and a few extra pairs of pants. At just 2 years old, Sunny could barely speak and wasn't potty trained yet, so spare pants were necessary. I've already prepared everything, Liberty said. It won't take me long, Serenity replied. Since she was bringing her nephew along, Serenity decided to drive instead of taking her e-bike. She needed to install a child's seat in the back for Sunny's safety. She turned back into the house to grab her car keys. After a brief pause, she opened the fridge and took out some vegetables, planning to cook soft food for Sunny at the shop. He would need his formula before his nap. Without his bottle, he would fuss and refuse to sleep. He wasn't ready to wean off it yet. It didn't take long for Serenity to reach her sister's neighborhood. Chapter 178. Liberty was already downstairs, waiting. She held Sunny in her arms while a diaper bag and a rucksack hung from each shoulder. She looked around absent-mindedly, not noticing the approaching car. In truth, she wasn't expecting a vehicle. Her sister usually rode an e-bike. Serenity stopped in front of her and rolled down the window. Liberty. Startled, Liberty quickly smiled. I thought you were riding your bike today. She knew her brother-in-law had bought Serenity a car, but she also knew Serenity rarely used it. This was the first time Serenity had driven it here. Serenity got out of the car and took the diaper bag from Liberty, placing it in the back seat. Everything's inside, right? The formula is the most important. Yes, it's all there, Liberty replied. Liberty handed her son to Serenity. As Serenity took Sunny into her arms, Liberty leaned over and kissed his cheek. Be a good boy for Aunt Sarah, Sunny. Mommy will be back soon. Sunny clung to his aunt without fussing and even waved goodbye to his mother. Liberty felt a sharp ache in her chest. Her son was only 2 years old. She had planned to send him to kindergarten before restarting her career, but reality forced her to look for work sooner than expected. Liberty, Serenity asked gently, has my brother-in-law come back yet? It had been several days since the fight. Liberty answered with clear disappointment, no. He texted me asking for a refund on the living expenses since he hasn't been eating at home. He wants his share back. Every one of Hank's actions cut her deeply. All Liberty felt was pain. She had been blind enough to love such a man, marry him, and bear his child. Yet, less than 3 years into the marriage, he repaid her with coldness, disdain, and abuse. Did you return the money to him? Serenity asked. After a brief pause, Liberty nodded. I gave it back. Since he wants to split everything so clearly, I won't keep what doesn't belong to me. Serenity pressed her lips together and chose not to comment. She simply asked, do you still have enough money, Liberty? Reaching into her pocket, Serenity pulled out the $2,000 Zachary had given her and placed it into Liberty's palm. Take this. Let me know if you need more. Don't feel pressured, consider it a loan. Liberty immediately returned the money. I still have some savings. I invested part of the money you gave me before. It's not much, but it'll last until I find a job. She was grateful Serenity had insisted she save half of the money for emergencies. Otherwise, she would be struggling badly now that her husband had cut her off. Since Liberty refused the money, Serenity put it back in her pocket and offered a few encouraging words. As Liberty urged them to hurry, Serenity said, "Come to the shop for lunch later. I brought groceries to cook." Zachary had strictly forbidden her from ordering takeout and insisted she eat home-cooked meals. If she skipped cooking, he would have meals delivered from the Wiltspoon Hotel. Wiltspoon Hotel was a 7-star establishment where even a plate of plain vegetables cost more than an entire fast food meal. If Zachary ordered delivery, he would order lavishly without checking prices. That man spent money without thinking. What a waste. Still, despite his extravagance, Serenity felt an unexpected warmth in her chest. "All right," Liberty replied. "If I'm nearby, I'll eat at your shop. If I'm far away, I'll grab something quick." "Okay," Serenity answered briefly before driving off with her nephew. Chapter 179. Serenity drove to the shop and noticed a familiar car parked outside. It was Sean. Sean had come by to deliver food to his cousin once again. This time, instead of breakfast, he brought pastries made by his family's personal chef. He claimed there were too many for his family to finish, so he decided to share them. Jasmine didn't think much of his excuse. She and Serenity would never turn down food. Besides, she knew that all the pastries at the Lowe's were freshly baked every day. Since Sean had brought them over, Jasmine indulged in quite a few pastries. Worried that Jasmine would finish everything before Serenity arrived, Sean glanced outside and asked, "Jazz, is Serenity coming today?" "She is, but a little later," Jasmine replied casually. Living close to the shop, Jasmine usually set things up and handled business in the morning, while Serenity took over at night. "There's a difference between married women and single ones," Jasmine said thoughtfully. Before Serenity got married, she helped with chores, cooking, and grocery shopping. Her brother-in-law used to nitpick when she lived at her sister's place. Not much has changed since she got married, she's always keeping herself busy. Jasmine glanced at her cousin and smiled. "Don't worry about me finishing the pastries. I can eat, but I can't eat everything at once. I'll save some for Serenity." Feeling exposed because Jasmine had read his mind, Sean blushed slightly and said, "Serenity loves pastries. Our family chef learned some techniques from beans and cream and experimented at home. I think the pastries taste even better now." "The food at Beans and Cream is already delicious," Jasmine said. "So I can only imagine how good these must be if your chef improved on them." She had been there once on a blind date. The date was a disaster, but at least the food had been excellent, the pastries were unforgettable. Hearing a car pull up, Jasmine asked, "Can you see who it is?" "Oh." Sean walked outside and spotted Serenity getting out of the car. Smiling, he asked, "When did you get a car, Serenity?" "I bought it a while ago, but I haven't really been driving it," Serenity replied. "My sister is out job hunting today, so she asked me to watch Sunny. I figured it'd be safer to take the car instead of the bike." "Aren't you working today, Sean?" "I am. I just stopped by to deliver the pastries the chef made. You girls can have a taste. I'm heading to the office now." "Serenity, about tomorrow's lunch. Don't worry. I'm not backing out of treating you. Be there or be square." Tomorrow was Saturday. She had promised to treat Sean to lunch as thanks for driving her home and fixing her e-bike. Sean grinned. "I wasn't worried you'd break your promise. I just thought you might be too busy and want to reschedule." "Nah." As Serenity grabbed the diaper bag, Sean stepped forward to help her. "Thanks." After thanking him, Serenity reached into the back seat and lifted her nephew out. Smiling, she said, "You're such a good boy, Sonny. You didn't fuss or cry. Let me give you a kiss." She planted a kiss on his cheek. Sean felt a sharp pang of envy. He wondered when he would ever receive a kiss from Serenity himself. "Sunny, this is Sean," Serenity introduced. "Hello, Sean," Sunny greeted in his small, adorable voice. Sean smiled, gently stroking Sunny's head as he looked at the innocent, well-mannered child. "Hello, Sunny." Chapter 180. Serenity walked into the shop with Sean, carrying her nephew. "Oh, Sunny's here. Come here, Sunny, give me a hug," Jasmine exclaimed as she stood up and took him from Serenity's arms. Sitting down, she asked, "Would you like some pastries?" Sunny looked at Serenity. "Give him a piece, but don't let him eat too much or he won't finish his lunch," Serenity advised. She took the diaper bag from Sean and placed it under the cash register. "My sister went job hunting today, so she asked me to watch Sunny. She'll come by this afternoon," Serenity explained. Jasmine handed Sunny a pastry. Instead of taking it, Sunny opened his palms and said, "Dirty." Jasmine immediately put the pastry down and carried him to the kitchenette to wash his hands. She believed Liberty had raised Sunny well. Any claims about him being naughty were nonsense. Kids were scolded for being playful and questioned about their intelligence when they sat quietly like a bump on a log. Children had it rough, too loud and they were bad, too quiet and something was supposedly wrong with them. After washing his hands, Jasmine gave Sunny the pastry again. He accepted it and said politely, "Thank you, Jazz. You're such a good boy," Jasmine praised. Every time she saw Sunny, Jasmine couldn't help imagining herself married with a child of her own. Liberty finally took the first step, Jasmine said. "I told Sean, but he's still learning the ropes and can't help her find a finance job yet. I even asked my uncle, but he said they aren't hiring right now." She felt a little guilty bringing it up. Sean did too. Although he was set to inherit the company, he was still young and figuring things out. Without real authority yet, he couldn't place anyone in important departments or leadership roles. At best, he could only help with minor positions. "It's fine," Serenity said calmly. "I believe my sister will find a job." Zachary had also mentioned that his company's finance department wasn't hiring. "Liberty has experience in finance," Serenity added. "She won't have trouble finding work." Jasmine was confident Liberty would return to the workforce successfully. She believed companies would compete for Liberty, not the other way around. Sean opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but ultimately stayed silent. "Sean, you should get going," Jasmine urged. "Uncle might dock your pay if you're late every day." Sean cast a reluctant glance at Serenity. He hadn't had much time to talk to her. "Yeah, Sean," Serenity added. "Hurry up. Don't come late and leave early. The whole company is watching you." Being an heir was no easy task. The family wouldn't hesitate to replace anyone who failed to meet expectations. Sean wasn't the only heir in the Lowe family. Several cousins were ready to take his place. Even if he had the potential, Sean would face serious challenges if he kept acting on impulse. With both women urging him on, Sean had no choice but to leave. Chapter 181. With Sean gone, Jasmine voiced her concern. "Seren, did your sister have another argument with your brother-in-law?" While gently stroking her nephew's head, Serenity replied, "Hank is still staying at his parents' house. He asked my sister to return his share of the living expenses since he hasn't been eating at home. He wants his cut back." After a brief pause, Jasmine said, "He really isn't much of a keeper, is he?" Serenity fell silent for a moment before replying, "My sister needs stability before she can think about the future." Jasmine had nothing to say to that. "How was Mrs. Dawson's party?" Serenity asked. "Did you hit it off with her son?" "My head is still pounding." Serenity blinked, then burst out laughing. "Don't tell me you pretended to be drunk at the party?" In high society, poise and grace were everything. Jasmine could forget about marrying into that circle now. "Well, I didn't actually get drunk or do anything crazy," Jasmine said. "But I drank a lot of wine and pretended to be tipsy. I lay down on the floor and acted like I was asleep. My aunt panicked and tried to drag me out. I doubt she'll ever take me to another event again. Jasmine had gone to great lengths to appease her elders' obsession with marrying her off to a wealthy and powerful man. Although the wives of Wildspoon's elite hadn't attended Mrs. Dawson's birthday party, many from the affluent social circle were present. Jasmine's act, pretending to be drunk and lying on the floor, was a serious faux pas. She had caused a scene at Mrs. Dawson's birthday celebration. In a community where gossip spread like wildfire, it didn't take long for word to get around. Those socially conscious wives looked down on Jasmine afterward, effectively ruining Mrs. Lowe's and Mrs. Socks's plans to marry her into a powerful family. The Socks family were longtime residents of Wildspoon. They had made their fortune during the property boom. Since Jasmine's parents took over the family business, their assets had doubled, if not tripled. However, in the eyes of the truly wealthy and powerful, the Sockses were still considered nouveau riche, having struck gold through sheer luck. Mrs. Lowe had married into the Lowe family through sheer ability and persistence. She also gave birth to a son, which secured her position as the woman of the house. Unfortunately, not every woman in the Socks family enjoyed such fortune. Judging by how Mr. Lowe treated her, it was obvious that Mrs. Lowe wore the pants in the marriage. Serenity said in disbelief, "You really went all out." "Desperate times call for desperate measures," Jasmine replied. Jasmine had never intended to marry someone rich or powerful. Rather than searching for love, she preferred to wait for it to come naturally. Her family didn't pressure her relentlessly, she would marry when the right person appeared. She could go on countless dates, but without the right timing, there would be no chemistry. "I think my mom and aunt will leave me alone for a while now," she said. "Your aunt probably wants to distance herself and pretend she doesn't know you," Serenity teased with a grin. Jasmine recalled the moment when the room fell silent, all eyes fixed on her as she lay on the floor pretending to be drunk. Her aunt had rushed over, embarrassed and frantic, dragging her away. She remembered stealing a glance at her aunt's face, which was filled with mixed emotions. Suddenly, Jasmine burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha." Soon, both women were laughing, and Sunny joined in, babbling happily. The girls laughed even harder. Guffaws filled the air. Chapter 182. Sunny happily munched on his pastry while playing inside the shop. His favorite toy was tucked inside the diaper bag, and he could spend the entire day absorbed in it. Jasmine commented to her best friend, "Sunny has incredible focus. Just look at how immersed he is in that toy." "That's only because he's in a new environment," Serenity replied. "Once he gets comfortable, he'll wreak havoc in the shop." Serenity often looked after Sunny for Liberty, so she knew firsthand just how mischievous the boy could be. As she took out her tools to start a rush craft order, Serenity said, "I gave the maneki to Miss Stone since she likes my knickknacks. I was planning to make another one for Zachary anyway, since we're husband and wife and live together." "He could have waited," she continued. "Instead, he got upset when he found out I apologized and admitted my mistake. I even tried to calm him down and offered to make him an extra craft, but he still wouldn't let it go. I need to finish his gift today," Serenity added. "I don't want to face that stone-cold expression when I get home tonight." Jasmine scolded her, "Of course he'd be angry. You promised the maneki to him. It was his to begin with. You gave it to Miss Stone without asking him." "I admitted my mistake and apologized," Serenity replied. "Besides, he already seemed unhappy when he came home last night. I figured he just had a rough day at work." The truth was that Zachary had been frustrated because Serenity hadn't noticed that he wore the clothes she gave him to work. Just then, Serenity's phone rang. She pulled it from her pocket and saw Grandma May's name on the screen before answering. "Nana. Are you busy, Seren?" "Not really. What's on your mind, Nana?" "I'm listening. You're my priority, no matter how busy I am." Before getting married, Serenity often met Grandma May for chats. Since the wedding, Grandma May had rarely visited. The elderly woman likely wanted to avoid becoming a third wheel while Serenity and Zachary grew closer. This had been Zachary's condition. He agreed to Nana's demand that he marry Serenity, but he set boundaries. Grandma May was not to interfere in their life after the wedding. He wanted time to observe Serenity's character, to decide whether she was worth spending the rest of his life with. Grandma May worried that her eldest grandson might react badly if she continued seeing Serenity too often. As a result, she restrained herself from visiting her granddaughter-in-law. "It's nothing much," Grandma May said. "Tomorrow's the weekend, isn't it? Business at your shop is usually slow. Are you free? I was thinking of spending the weekend at your place. Can you ask Zachary if he's okay with that?" Grandma May was eager to know how the couple was progressing. Callum had mentioned that Zachary occasionally seemed jealous, which only fueled her curiosity. "Nana, you can come over anytime," Serenity replied warmly. "You don't need our permission. It's your grandson's house, so it's basically yours too." Serenity genuinely enjoyed Grandma May's company. Besides, the house belonged to Zachary, so Grandma May was always welcome. She often felt that the home was too quiet. Sometimes, Serenity felt completely alone when Zachary stayed silent and ignored her. She had even considered getting a couple of dogs or cats to keep her company, an idea she planned to bring up with him that evening. "I should still ask Zach," Grandma May said. "What if he doesn't want me there, thinking I'll be a third wheel and disrupt your time together?" Grandma May understood her grandson well. He wouldn't appreciate her presence if she showed up with another hidden agenda. Chapter 183. Serenity said, "Not at all, Nana. I'll talk to him tonight. Will Callum be driving you over tomorrow, or should we come pick you up?" "I'll have Callum drop me off, probably in the afternoon. He sleeps until noon on weekends," Grandma May replied. Her grandsons deserved their rest on weekends, and she usually let them sleep in. She planned to arrive at Serenity's place in the afternoon. "All right then. What would you like to eat?" "I'll prepare dinner," Serenity offered. Since Grandma May would arrive later in the day, Serenity's lunch with Sean could go on as planned. Even if Grandma May came in the morning, Serenity could simply bring her along. It wouldn't matter since Serenity was paying for lunch anyway. "I love your cooking. Your food is the best," Grandma May said. Having tasted Serenity's dishes, she privately thought that her eldest grandson was lucky to have such a capable cook at home. The entire family adored Serenity, except for Zach's mother, Tanya, who was less enthusiastic because Serenity was an orphan from a rural area. Grandma May had addressed this issue with her daughter-in-law more than once. Their family was wealthy enough, they didn't need to elevate their social standing through calculated marriages. What mattered most was the happiness of the younger generation. Tanya never voiced her opinions in Grandma May's presence, fully aware of how much her mother-in-law favored Serenity. However, behind closed doors, she complained to her husband. She couldn't understand why Grandma May, who treated Zachary as her golden child, would still push him to marry an orphan from the countryside. Tanya believed Serenity would only hold Zachary back. Someone from a rural background would struggle to fit into the elite social circle dominated by high society ladies. Brothers and cousins married women from prestigious families. Serenity, on the other hand, would never earn the respect of her sisters-in-law. Fortunately for Tanya, she later discovered that her son had signed an agreement with Serenity. That knowledge brought her some relief. If no feelings developed between them, they could separate after 6 months. Tanya knew her son well. Serenity wasn't the kind of woman who could capture Zachary's heart. Even an heiress like Elisa had failed. To Zachary, marrying Serenity was merely a responsibility, a way to repay her for saving his grandmother's life. That was why Tanya had restrained herself. If her son genuinely fell in love with Serenity, she would eventually accept her as a daughter-in-law. However, she would still need to guide and polish Serenity to ensure she wouldn't embarrass Zachary at social gatherings. "Don't let me keep you, Seren. I'm meeting an old friend soon," Grandma May said. "That's all for now. Just remember to talk to Zachary. I don't want him finding fault with you." Knowing her grandsons need to stay informed, she reminded Serenity to keep Zachary in the loop. Serenity smiled and waited for Grandma May to hang up. She couldn't help wondering how Grandma May had convinced Zachary to marry her in the first place. At Wilkesboon General Hospital, old Mrs. Hunt had undergone surgery the day before. The operation was successful, but she was required to remain in the ICU for 2 days of observation before being transferred to a general ward. The ICU fees were exorbitant. Combined with the surgery costs, the daily bills placed an immense financial burden on the Hunt family. Chapter 184. The hospital expenses were currently being covered by old Mr. and Mrs. Hunt's savings. Old Mr. Hunt had made it clear that once Mrs. Hunt was discharged, their children and grandchildren would have to contribute toward the medical bills. As for the money already spent, the younger generation would need to reimburse the elderly couple. The old couple wasn't comfortable draining their savings entirely. Living without any cash on hand was unacceptable. While they might seem calculating, the Hunts understood reality well. If they had nothing left to their names, their children and grandchildren wouldn't be nearly as generous. It was far safer to rely on cold, hard cash than on blood ties. They still had several $100,000 saved. If divided evenly, each family would receive around $100,000. No one would ever turn down free money. When the nurse arrived with the previous day's charges, old Mr. Hunt studied the bill carefully. His face darkened. "It hasn't even been a few days, and we're almost out of money," he said grimly. Turning to his children, he added, "Discuss it among yourselves. Pool your money and reimburse me before the hospital starts chasing us for payment." "Dad, have you really spent all your savings?" the eldest son asked. Old Mr. Hunt shot him a furious glare. "What? Are you unhappy about paying? Do you think your mother and I enjoy burning money like this? How many of you have paid a single cent since your mother fell ill? We raised you, helped you settle down, and now that she's sick, you think the medical bills aren't your responsibility?" The eldest son quickly said, "Dad, we're not refusing to pay. We just don't know how much it's all going to cost." The hospital stay over the past few days had already drained their finances. Even though they were better off than before, their mother's illness was rapidly bleeding them dry. The eldest son felt a crushing sense of pressure. People say it's fine to be poor, but never to get sick. If only those kids would contribute, there'd be no need to pay out of pocket. If anyone was to blame, it was those children. The only way out was to make Serenity pay for everything. John had asked a friend to look into Serenity's background. He learned that she owned a large bookstore near Wiltspoon School. Business there was booming, and her online store was doing well too. According to what John heard, Serenity's monthly income could reach tens of thousands. Liberty, once the most outspoken among them, was now trapped in a miserable marriage. She was a stay-at-home mother with no money of her own. Old Mr. Hunt felt she had brought this upon herself. When Liberty married, she had refused to give her relatives a lump sum for family support. That was karma. Now she had no choice but to lie in the bed she made. The room fell into silence. Paying money always hurt the most when it was their turn. The Hunts might have temporarily abandoned the idea of forcing Serenity to pay, but now they were once again scheming to dump the costs on her. "Oh, right," old Mr. Hunt said suddenly. "Is John still suspended from work? Is there still a big fuss online?" He asked Chris because the old man didn't use the internet. The online backlash meant nothing to him personally. During the first 2 days, a few angry people had come to the hospital to confront the Hunts, but security guards quickly escorted them away. The family had called the police, and once law enforcement got involved, the netizens backed off. Now, the worst they did was send hateful messages online. No one dared show up at the hospital anymore. After all, old Mrs. Hunt was a postoperative patient. If anything happened to her due to harassment, the Hunts could take legal action. The netizens would face serious financial consequences if they were forced to compensate the family. Chapter 185. The only negative impact old Mr. Hunt observed was on his most esteemed and accomplished grandson, John. Because of the Twitter incident, John was suspended from his company. Old Mr. Hunt never expected Serenity's retaliation to lead to John's suspension, especially since John held a senior executive position, second only to the managing director and deputy managing director. After receiving a call from headquarters, John was placed on administrative leave. John's annual salary exceeded $1 million. Not yet. John had treated his boss to a meal and learned that the sister of the CEO of Stone Group had demanded his unpaid leave and termination from the company. Fortunately, John excelled at his job and was only suspended. Since the company did not fire him, there was still hope for a positive outcome. Old Mr. Hunt asked with concern, "Why is the CEO's sister targeting John? Don't tell me that Brat has found herself an ally." "No way. Miss Stone is an heiress from the second most influential and wealthiest family in Wiltspoon. Their family's collective worth is nearly $100 billion, just below the Yorks. How could she possibly be Serenity's ally? I heard Miss Stone is upset with John because the viral news shifted public attention away from the gossip surrounding her and the York heir. The two stories were currently trending on Twitter. John should be able to return to work once Miss Stone calmed down. It's all that Brat's fault for causing us so much trouble. The news isn't trending on Twitter anymore, right? Netizens are still discussing it. I keep seeing many hateful messages online." Old Mr. Hunt snorted. Chris scolded Serenity before asking, "Didn't you say you'd find a mediator from a TV program to act as a peacemaker? Even if it's just for show, we should still go through with it. Don't let this small issue affect our children's careers." Serenity's retaliatory response had put his children's and grandchildren's livelihoods at risk. They were losing money. Recently, old Mr. Hunt had instructed his grandsons to find Serenity and discuss reconciliation, but that attempt ended badly. "Let me ask John." Chris took out his phone to call him. Since old Mrs. Hunt was still in the ICU, not everyone needed to stay by her side. Only the older family members remained at the hospital while the grandchildren attended to their own affairs. John quickly answered his father's call. "John, how is the mediation going?" Chris asked. With a grimace, John replied, "Dad, I was just about to call you. Forget it. The mediation isn't happening. Everything was arranged, but those people suddenly said they weren't coming today. They won't even tell me why. I'm furious." As the third in command of his company, John had grown cocky. It had been a long time since he'd been outmaneuvered. This time, he lost to his cousin. He despised Serenity and said angrily, "Can't we just switch to another TV program? My friend said no mediator is willing to take this job. No amount of money can persuade them." He said Serenity must have found someone backing her. "Whoever it is, they're powerful. Otherwise, no one would dare refuse. I have connections, I can tell something's off," John said confidently. He and Mike were influential figures in their hometown. They were usually the ones calling the shots, but this time, they were falling behind. John and Mike had asked around, but no one could uncover the identity of Serenity's supporter. Maybe they were being paranoid, or maybe Miss Stone really was involved. Chapter 186. It was rumored that Miss Stone was infatuated with Mr. York. She was furious that the Hunts had stolen the spotlight just as her name finally appeared alongside Mr. York's in the trending news. Miss Stone didn't even act like an heiress. She behaved as though she had never seen a man in her life. It was disgusting that she repeatedly sabotaged the Hunts just to get a man's attention. Despite the Hunts banding together, they were completely powerless against Miss Stone. After moving to the city and suffering one unpleasant experience after another, old Mr. Hunt finally realized how vast the world truly was. He had always thought his grandson was outstanding, but there were people out there who were 10 times more capable, if not more. How did this happen? Old Mr. Hunt's eldest son, Stuart, asked anxiously. Wasn't everything already agreed upon? Your uncle and I even prepared a script for the mediation show. We were going to publicly admit our mistakes and make Serenity look petty for refusing reconciliation. And now you're telling me it's cancelled? What did John say? Is the mediator refusing to help? John had mentioned a few more things before Chris ended the call. Chris turned to Stuart and said, "No mediators are willing to step forward. Our only option now is to swallow our pride and visit Serenity a few more times. John took the younger ones there last time. You know how hot-headed young people can be. Noah even threatened to smash Serenity's shop. He wasn't there to reconcile, he only made things worse. Stuart, we need to discuss this with everyone. We adults should go ourselves and apologize properly. Maybe we can convince Serenity to delete the tweet and post an update saying we've resolved things. That's the only way out of this mess. The power of the internet was far greater than anything they had ever faced, and the situation had spiraled out of control. If they had known things would turn out like this, the Hunts would never have handled it this way. They would have demanded financial compensation from Serenity at her workplace instead. That might have been the better approach. I guess we don't have any other choice. Serenity had no idea the Hunts were planning another reconciliation attempt, and she didn't care. Even if her relatives wanted peace, she wasn't about to back down or hand over her money. The Hunts had taken a large portion of her parents' life insurance payout and occupied her parents' house and land without ever caring for Serenity and Liberty. Now that they needed money, they expected Serenity to foot hundreds of thousands of dollars in old Mrs. Hunt's medical bills. If the Hunts were truly struggling, Serenity might have offered old Mrs. Hunt a small amount out of goodwill. But the Hunts were wealthier than she was. Why should she be responsible for their medical expenses? When afternoon came, Serenity prepared lunch and waited for her sister. Thinking of the man who had once tried to silence her with money, she suddenly felt like inviting Zachary over. She told Jasmine, "Jasmine, I'm bringing my man over for lunch. Watch the shop for me. When my sister arrives, tell her Sonny has already eaten." Sonny had eaten soft vegetables and a little formula before going down for his nap. Jasmine teased, "So Mr. York is on your mind whenever you have good food to share. Looks like things are going well between you two." "He's the one supporting me and covering all my living expenses," Serenity replied calmly. "Of course he should taste my cooking. I'll take a cab there and come back with him." "Hurry up," Jasmine said. "I'll hold the fort," Jasmine added, genuinely happy for her best friend as she saw progress in Serenity's marriage. Serenity headed straight to York Corporation and only called Zachary after she arrived. At that moment, Zachary was in a meeting with Josh and several senior executives, discussing business with an important client. When Serenity's call came in, Zachary frowned slightly, paused, and then answered. Chapter 187. "Mr. York, I'm outside your office. Are you on your lunch break yet? I'm here to take you to my shop for lunch." Surprise! Zachary was momentarily at a loss for words. While it was indeed a surprise, it wasn't a pleasant one. Fortunately, he was skilled at maintaining his composure, especially since he had just experienced quite a shock. "Mr. York?" Serenity called out when she received no response. Tugging at his tie, Zachary replied in a low voice, "I'm on my break, but the client hasn't left yet. We're still finalizing the business details, so it may take a while. Why don't you go ahead? I'll meet you at your shop for lunch." "How much longer will it take?" "I didn't drive, I took a cab," Serenity replied. "It's fine. I'll wait for you outside your office building. We can leave together once you're done." Zachary raised his arm to check his watch before saying, "There's a dessert shop right across from the office. Wait for me there. I'll be done shortly." Serenity turned her head and spotted the dessert shop. Without hesitation, she agreed with Zachary's suggestion. After hanging up, Zachary let out a sigh of relief. He had been worried that she might barge into the building, which would have exposed his arrangements. Since Serenity had come specifically for him, Zachary hurried to the VIP reception room and quickly finalized the deal with the client. He then instructed Josh and several senior executives to escort the client to lunch at the Wiltspoon Hotel. "Aren't you coming with us, Mr. York?" the client asked. "Something urgent came up, so I won't be able to join you today, Mr. Johnson." "We'll have to reschedule," Zachary replied. The client he was dealing with today was none other than Remy Johnson, a member of the wealthiest family behind Annenberg F.C. & Company. F.C. & Company's Wiltspoon branch had subsidiaries in the city, but it had always been careful not to provoke the local powerhouse, York Corporation. As a result, the two sides had never crossed paths before. However, this time, F.C. & Company's Wiltspoon branch had launched a massive project and was looking to partner with either York Corporation or Stone Group. Both companies expressed strong interest. After discussing the matter with the head of the Johnson family, Remy began leaning toward York Corporation, officially marking the start of cooperation between the two business giants. Remy ended the conversation tactfully, and Josh escorted him out. Remy's bodyguards were already waiting outside. It was said that among his 10 siblings, Remy was the least capable of defending himself, which was why he was always accompanied by security when out in public. Zachary personally escorted Remy and his entourage to the elevator. Once they left, Zachary returned to his office and took out a pair of binoculars to observe from the window. After watching Remy's convoy leave York Corporation, Zachary picked up his phone and instructed his bodyguards to wait for him on the first floor. A few minutes later, he headed downstairs. "Sir," one of the bodyguards greeted. "Go have lunch. You don't need to follow me. Just give me the keys to the MPV," Zachary said while walking. A bodyguard handed him the keys. The others instinctively followed, but Zachary waved them off. Since Mr. Zachary was using the MPV, it could only mean one thing. He would be with his wife. Chapter 188. While waiting for Zachary at the dessert shop, Serenity didn't want to sit there without ordering anything, so she bought 2 milkshakes to go. She chose a seat near the entrance so she could spot Zachary as soon as he drove out of the office building. With the milkshakes in hand, she walked outside. A bright smile lit up her beautiful face as she waved at Zachary. Zachary pulled over and parked in front of her. She stepped forward and opened the passenger door. After getting in, she fastened her seatbelt just as Zachary restarted the engine. "Why are you wearing a black mask?" Serenity asked casually. Zachary didn't answer. He simply removed the mask, having worn it to avoid being recognized when leaving the building. Although few people had seen him in person, he preferred to remain cautious. Not dwelling on his silence, Serenity continued, "Do you want a milkshake? I bought one for you. I'll drink mine now. I can drive once I'm done, and then you can have yours." "No, thank you," Zachary replied. He added that he had never tried milkshakes before. "Then I'll give it to Jasmine. She likes milkshakes," Serenity said. "She enjoys having them with desserts during tea time." "I suppose girls tend to like milkshakes," Zachary said. "I rarely drink them." "I don't like them much either," Serenity replied after taking a sip. "I hardly drink them. They're not very healthy." Whenever Jasmine ordered milkshakes, Serenity usually opted for juice instead. "What made you come all the way here to pick me up today?" Zachary asked quietly. "You could have just called. What if I hadn't been in the office? You would have come for nothing." He just happened to be there that day. Normally, Zachary wasn't in the office at that hour. "Do you always discuss business during meals?" Serenity asked. "Yes," Zachary replied. "Many deals are finalized over lunch or dinner." "Oh," Serenity said. "I'll call you beforehand next time. I only wanted to surprise you." She added with a wry smile, "Looks like I scared you instead. My sister is looking for a job right now and is joining us for lunch at the shop, so I made extra food," Serenity continued. "You've been very generous and considerate toward me. I thought I should return the favor by picking you up and having lunch together." After a brief silence, Zachary said, "Serenity, we signed an agreement. Once the time is up, you don't need to dwell on the divorce. We can live like any ordinary couple. You don't have to feel like you owe me anything." Serenity replied calmly, "Marriage is about give and take." Zachary was left speechless. She wasn't wrong. "If you don't like me picking you up or eating together, I won't come again," Serenity said quietly. She worried that he disliked her showing up at his workplace. She remembered his warning when they first got their marriage certificate, that their marriage was to remain a secret, and she was not to reveal their relationship without his permission. Zachary fell silent once more, unsure how to respond. Serenity picking him up from work meant she was beginning to care about him, but their marriage had to stay hidden. He didn't want to keep lying to cover himself every time she appeared. Serenity took his silence as confirmation. After finishing her milkshake, she resolved that she would never pick him up from York Corporation again. Chapter 189. That reminds me. I need to talk to you about something, Serenity said, changing the subject. From the cheerful tone in her voice, Zachary realized that his silence hadn't upset her. Strangely, that unsettled him even more. What is it? He asked. Nana wants to stay at our place this weekend. She asked me to discuss it with you first, in case you might say no. Since you're her grandson, I figured you wouldn't mind. Grandma May simply didn't want to intrude on their time as a couple. That idea existed only in Grandma May's imagination. There was no real couple time between Zachary and Serenity. They were married in name only. During the day, they were both busy with their own affairs. At night, they slept in separate beds. They interacted only when necessary and rarely talked otherwise. Serenity had assumed it would be like this, and now reality matched her expectations perfectly. She had once harbored a small crush on Zachary, but his silence after she picked him up from work had extinguished those feelings. It was better to stick to the 6-month contract. In 5 months, she would be single again. Zachary didn't like the idea of Nana staying over. She was crafty and loved playing tricks on her grandchildren. Knowing that he and Serenity were husband and wife in name only, Nana would definitely try to push them into sharing a bed. We already have plans for the weekend. Neither of us has the time to keep Nana company. She might as well stay at her own place. Her sons and daughters-in-law are retired and can spend time with her, Zachary said. As he spoke, Serenity tilted her head and listened quietly. He glanced at her. It was no wonder Nana kept urging Serenity to talk to him instead of deciding on her own. The man clearly didn't want his grandmother visiting. Don't you want Nana to stay for a couple of days? Serenity asked. It's just 2 days. She said she'd arrive in the afternoon if she comes. I don't think it's a big deal for her to stay with us. She used to hang around my shop all the time, and she can come with me if she stays over. Mr. York, she's your Nana. Your grandmother. Zachary thought, do you think I would have married you if Nana hadn't asked? But out loud, he said, I'm not saying she can't come. Fine. I'll call her later and talk it through. Serenity stayed quiet for a moment before asking hesitantly, Mr. York, is your relationship with Nana not very good? She added, don't you think our place is too quiet? It would feel livelier with someone else around. Nana was fun-loving, and Serenity believed her presence would bring some warmth to the house. I moved out precisely to enjoy peace and quiet, Zachary replied. After a pause, Serenity said, all right. You talk to Nana. You decide. Then she added, but I still think our place is too quiet. If Nana doesn't come, can I get 2 dogs and 2 cats to keep us company? Zachary glanced at her briefly before turning his attention back to the road. He replied calmly, dogs and cats can't speak. They shed fur, damage furniture, and make a mess. I don't like that. But if you want pets, I won't stop you, as long as you keep them properly managed. Chapter 190. That effectively ended the conversation. Serenity said nothing more and quietly watched the streets through the window. By the time Serenity and Zachary arrived at the shop, Liberty had just gotten there. Liberty, Serenity called as she got out of the car. Liberty turned around and saw her sister standing beside Zachary. Her plump face lit up as she asked, where did you two come from? I went to his office to invite him to lunch, Serenity replied. What about you, Liberty? Have you found a job? Zachary greeted Liberty politely, and she returned his greeting with a smile. However, Liberty's expression dimmed when the topic of work came up. Shaking her head, she said, not yet. I submitted a bunch of resumes, but either I haven't heard back, or I've been rejected outright. After a short pause, she continued, once they find out I have a 2-year-old at home, they say I'd be too distracted and that my child is too young. Her frustration was evident. Who says a mother with a toddler can't focus at work? I told them someone would look after my child and that I'd give my full attention to work, but they wouldn't listen. They just shut me out. It feels like working mothers are being discriminated against. After spending the entire morning job hunting with no success, Liberty was exhausted and hungry. Her thoughts drifted back to her in-laws' harsh words, saying she wouldn't survive if she left Hank. Having been out of the workforce for 3 years, Liberty realized she no longer had the luxury of being picky. Now she was at the mercy of employers. She had once been a finance director. Now, it felt like she'd be lucky to land any job at all. "It's okay, Liberty," Serenity said gently, linking arms with her sister as they entered the shop. "There's no rush. Take your time. You'll find something suitable. Let's eat first and relax. You can continue applying later. Maybe submit resumes online and wait for interview calls instead of running around." "I did apply online," Liberty replied. "But I haven't received many interview calls either." She had been confident about re-entering the workforce, but the morning had shaken that confidence. Maybe she really needed to lower her expectations. It didn't have to be a finance job. She could try something else. "Has Sonny been behaving?" Liberty asked. "He's been good," Serenity replied. "He played with Jasmine. He ate, then took a nap before I went to pick up Zachary. He should still be asleep." Liberty smiled. "He's a little devil when he's with me, but he behaves so well for others." She went to check on her son. Seeing Sonny sleeping soundly, Liberty gently stroked his face and kissed him softly before returning to join them for lunch. "York, have some more." "You work hard," Serenity said, serving Zachary another portion. Noticing how her sister addressed him, Liberty commented, "It's strange that you still call him Mr. York." Serenity giggled. "It's fine. I use different names for him all the time. He's used to it." Zachary backed her up. "Liberty, we call each other whatever we like." Liberty smiled. All right. I won't tease you. Whatever makes you happy." She couldn't help but recall how she and Hank used to call each other honey endlessly during their early days of marriage. Over time, those endearments faded. She began calling him by name, and he did the same. She couldn't even remember the last time Hank had called her honey. Chapter 191. After the meal, Liberty wanted to go home and rest. She felt exhausted from job hunting all morning, and her confidence had taken a hit since she hadn't found any opportunities. She decided to return home to revise a few resumes while mentally preparing herself for potential interviews. "Liberty, I'll take you back," Serenity offered. Liberty glanced at her brother-in-law, Zachary, who promptly said, "I'll head back to the office then." "Okay," she replied. "Drive carefully," Liberty instructed. After her brother-in-law left, Liberty picked up her son, who was still asleep, and climbed into her sister's car. "If Zachary doesn't have a long lunch break, you can drop him back at the office so he doesn't have to drive. Otherwise, he won't get to rest during his break." "All right," Serenity said as she started the car. She vowed never to return to York Corporation, but kept this thought to herself for fear of being lectured by her sister. Serenity could see how much Liberty appreciated her brother-in-law, Zachary. By the time lunch break ended, Zachary returned to the office. As soon as he exited the elevator, the secretary greeted him respectfully, "Mr. York, Mr. Butcham is waiting for you." Zachary nodded and walked steadily toward his office. Meanwhile, he instructed the secretary, "Please make me a black coffee, no sugar or milk." He preferred his coffee strong. The secretary instinctively replied, "But you don't drink coffee in the afternoon." Zachary usually had a cup in the morning to stay alert throughout the day. Another cup in the afternoon would disrupt his sleep at night. Consequently, he avoided coffee later in the day. Zachary entered the office without acknowledging the secretary, who wisely chose not to speak further. Once inside, he noticed Josh standing by the window, peering through a pair of binoculars. With a serious expression, Zachary approached and reclaimed the binoculars. "Don't touch my things," he said. "Someone sounds a little guilty," Josh teased. "You left them on the table, so I just took a look." The two returned to the table and sat down, with Zachary putting the binoculars away. "Did your wife come by at noon?" Zachary asked. "Josh, are you so bored you can only gossip all day?" he replied, and Josh chuckled. "Working for you is dull." Now that something interesting is happening in your life, I can't help but gossip. Your miniature tree is larger than the one on Callum's desk. Your wife is certainly talented at crafting such lifelike sculptures. Zachary replied flatly, how can Callum compare to me? I'm Serenity's husband, while Callum is merely her cousin-in-law. Josh said, I'll ask my secretary to place an order for me later. I'll buy a bigger one to put on my desk and see if it actually brings me luck. Zachary shot him a glance. You'd better buy all the crafts in her store. I work for you, and you pay my salary, Josh countered. But you want me to spend my wages at your wife's shop? That means my salary ends up in your wife's wallet. Zachary, can you be any more cunning? Next time, I'll dig a deep hole and bury you in it, Zachary retorted. That'll show you how cunning I can be. Josh surrendered, saying, okay. I won't make fun of you. Is Remy gone? Zachary inquired about the earlier business. Yup, he left. He went back to Annie after signing the contract and having lunch. His bodyguards really never leave his side. Chapter 192. Zachary remarked casually, Remy's self-defense skills are lacking. The Johnsons, like my family in Wiltspoon, are the wealthiest in Annenberg. For safety reasons, Remy has no choice but to have more bodyguards wherever he goes. You're already aware of this, so why are you making a fuss now? If you're envious of Remy's extravagance, you could hire 8 to 10 bodyguards to follow you too. Josh didn't need bodyguards because he was skilled in martial arts. Furthermore, not many people knew his identity, so it would be too conspicuous for him to go out with bodyguards. The two were discussing business when the secretary knocked on the door. Mr. York, here's the coffee you requested. The secretary delivered the freshly brewed coffee and placed it gently in front of Zachary. Once the secretary left, Josh teased his friend and boss. You don't seem to have the energy to work after your little romantic rendezvous with your wife. You should drink a couple more cups of coffee. Zachary's expression darkened. A romantic rendezvous? He sensed tension between him and Serenity. Although she had come to pick him up for lunch, he wasn't pleased. Serenity hadn't said anything or shown anger, yet Zachary felt she might never come to his office again. What's with the long face? Did you two argue? I thought your wife was good-natured, Josh commented. Serenity didn't strike Zachary as unreasonable. Zachary remained silent for quite some time, withholding the reason from Josh. Although Josh was generally tight-lipped, he had a curious nature. Zachary worried that if Josh learned too much, he might inadvertently reveal everything when drunk. Still, Zachary wanted to ask Josh for advice. Here's some advice to help resolve the unspoken tension between Zachary and Serenity. Zachary remarked, I think I hurt her feelings. Josh's eyes lit up. How did you hurt her feelings? Tell me more. In response, Zachary kicked Josh under the table. Josh felt the nudge and grinned. You only shared half the story and left me hanging, Zachary. I don't take on students like you. You don't need to know how I hurt her, Zachary replied. Just tell me what I should do. Give her a gift, something nice like a floral arrangement, Josh suggested. You should bring it to her yourself instead of doing something half-hearted. The most straightforward method is also the most effective one. Just surprise her, and I guarantee she won't stay mad at you. After Josh finished, Zachary kicked him again. In response, Josh got up and dragged his chair far away, making it impossible for Zachary to kick again. You two will be considered husband and wife once you have a marriage license, Josh continued. All married couples have sex. Are you both planning to stay abstinent forever? Zachary frowned. He didn't even allow Serenity into his room for fear she might take advantage of him. Likewise, he was hesitant to enter Serenity's room, worried he might see something he shouldn't, reminiscent of their first night together. But I guess that's your usual style, Josh remarked. After all, your Nana forced you to marry her. You might even get divorced soon. Knowing Zachary well, Josh sensed that their relationship was merely a formality on paper, resulting in a rather dull existence. Are you looking forward to my divorce? Zachary asked gloomily, taking a sip of his coffee. Josh smiled and replied, "Why would I anticipate your divorce? That doesn't benefit me at all. I just know that, given your temperament, you likely don't intend to spend the rest of your life with Serenity. You married her for your grandmother's sake, otherwise, you wouldn't have kept your marriage a secret. Hiding your marriage is unfair to your wife. She will feel wronged because of it. If you don't care about her feelings, it suggests you don't plan to stay with her long term. In this situation, it's actually better for her to keep the marriage secret for her own protection. That way, she won't be affected and can remarry after your divorce." For some reason, Zachary felt uneasy after hearing Josh's analysis, particularly when Josh mentioned the possibility of Serenity's second marriage. Chapter 193. Duncan invited us to lunch tomorrow at our usual spot. That guy always takes us back to the same place. I know the food at Grace's diner is delicious, but I wouldn't bother going if it weren't for Grandma May's beans and cream next door. At least we can hang out at the cafe, someone added. We used to go there often. Zachary chimed in, Duncan is such a nostalgic guy. Before reaching their current positions in the company, Zachary was still in training and not yet a manager. Even back then, he preferred to keep his identity under wraps, so he often dined at regular diners with friends. Beans and Cream was the largest and most upscale cafe in Wiltspoon. The clothing stores and restaurants nearby were not exactly low-end either. Budget stores couldn't attract the customer flow generated by Beans and Cream. The cafe's patrons were mainly working professionals who enjoyed treating themselves. They frequently tried other restaurants or shopped at nearby stores after visiting Beans and Cream. As a result, the bustling street around Beans and Cream featured a mix of mid to high-end establishments. Are you going? Of course, especially since it's his treat. Zachary flashed a rare smile, revealing the strength of his friendship with Josh and Duncan. Part of Zachary's decision to join Duncan for lunch stemmed from their friendship. Another reason was to avoid an awkward encounter with Serenity at home. Then I'll join too. It's finally the weekend when I can relax. After lunch, let's chill at your Nana's cafe and have a barbecue by the beach tonight? Zachary declined. He would prefer to play golf instead of going for a barbecue. Josh chatted for quite a while before leaving. After he departed, Zachary called his grandmother. Zach, did Serenity tell you? Yes, Zachary replied in a low voice. Nana, you're quite forgetful at your age, so let me remind you again. I've already granted your wish to marry Serenity, and you promised not to interfere in our relationship after the wedding. The elderly lady was left speechless. What a hot-headed young man. If Grandma May hadn't intervened, how long would she have to wait for a great-granddaughter? Sigh. She was so anxious. Zachary didn't care about his grandmother's reaction and hung up the phone after finishing his statement. He then shifted his focus to his workload after finishing half a cup of coffee. It wasn't until late into the night that Zachary completed his tasks and headed home. By the time he arrived, it was already past 1 a.m, and Serenity was fast asleep. The large house was eerily quiet, just as Serenity would often say. She had wanted a pet dog, but Zachary was not fond of pets at all. She was enough for him. After sitting quietly in the hall for a moment, Zachary retreated to his room. The night passed in silence without incident. The next day, Zachary woke up around mid-morning. Serenity was no longer home, but she had thoughtfully prepared breakfast and placed it on the dining table for him to see as soon as he emerged from his room. As Zachary walked over, he noticed a note on the table. He picked it up and read. I'm going to my sister's house and won't be back for lunch. You can manage on your own. Crumpling the note into a ball, he tossed it into the trash can. Coincidentally, he had plans to have lunch with his friends anyway. At noon, they parted ways. Zachary opened the lid of the disposable box and discovered the breakfast burrito that Serenity had bought for him. He didn't feel like eating it, so he closed the lid, picked up the box, and was about to toss it in the trash. Suddenly, he paused. Chapter 194. After some contemplation, Zachary finally took a seat at the dining table. He opened the lid of the disposable box and silently began eating the breakfast burrito, which he did not particularly enjoy. Zachary had to acknowledge that living with Serenity had made him feel more like an ordinary person. He found himself trying a variety of street foods he had never tasted before. After finishing breakfast, Zachary headed to the balcony. He settled onto the swing and admired Serenity's flowers and plants. He remained there until 11 o'clock when he received a phone call from Josh, reminding him of their lunch appointment. Zachary then returned to his room, got dressed, and left the house. Knowing that Serenity was at her sister's house, Zachary figured their paths would not cross, so instead of taking the national MPV, he chose to drive his luxurious Rolls-Royce. As usual, he was flamboyantly escorted to Grace's diner by a convoy of bodyguards. The convoy parked in front of Grandma May's cafe, and Zachary walked to the diner to minimize any commotion. When Zachary arrived at the diner, Duncan and Josh were already seated. They waved as Zachary approached, flanked by his group of bodyguards. The bodyguards took their seats at a table next to the three of them. This arrangement allowed them to protect their boss while still maintaining a respectful distance during his meal. Only Duncan and Josh could invite Zachary to a place like this. They were seated in the diner's most secluded corner, ensuring a peaceful atmosphere. "Zachary, you order," Duncan said, handing the menu to him. Zachary didn't take the menu and replied flatly, "We're regulars here, so just tell the manager we'll have our usuals." "Don't you want to try something new?" Josh asked. Duncan interjected, "He's a picky eater. He might refuse to eat anything if we order something new. Let's just stick with our usual orders." Noticing his friend's reluctance to try something different, Duncan called the waiter over to take their regular order. "I need to use the bathroom," Zachary announced as he got up and left. A bodyguard immediately followed him. They weren't concerned about any threats to Zachary's safety but were more wary of women potentially throwing themselves at him. After all, Zachary was quite the ladies' man, always drawing attention wherever he went. "Sean, have some more. Make sure you eat until you're satisfied." Zachary suddenly heard a familiar voice as he exited the bathroom. It was Serenity, his wife. He quickly scanned the area and spotted her sitting at a table by the window, filled with delicious dishes. Serenity and Sean were seated across from each other, engaged in lively conversation and laughter. Serenity even placed food on Sean's plate, encouraging him to eat more with a warm smile. Despite Jasmine sitting next to Serenity, Zachary felt a pang of discomfort at the sight. Sean had a crush on Serenity and was, in fact, Zachary's love rival. Serenity had told Zachary she was going to her sister's house, but here she was, having lunch with Sean. The bodyguard noticed the situation as well. "Sir, the missus is just having lunch with her friends," he whispered, defending Serenity. Zachary remained silent and walked away, while the bodyguard cast a sympathetic glance at Serenity, who remained unaware of the tension as he hurried to catch up with Zachary's footsteps. Serenity was unaware that Zachary also frequented the diner. She invited Sean to lunch as a way of repaying a favor. Having always viewed Sean as her younger brother, she would make sure there was food on his plate when they dined together, and he would do the same for her. She didn't give it much thought. However, she was oblivious to the fact that a silent storm was brewing, and trouble awaited her when her husband witnessed the scene. Chapter 195. Zachary returned to his table with a composed expression. Once the dishes were served, he ate quietly, not participating in the conversation with his friends. His mind was preoccupied with thoughts of Serenity smiling and serving food to Sean. "Zachary, you're acting a bit strange today," Duncan remarked, spearing a vegetable with his fork and taking a bite. He glanced at Zachary, who sat across from him, and continued, "Why are you so quiet? You've just been shoveling food into your mouth." Josh nodded in agreement. Zachary replied blankly, "I'm hungry." He had only eaten a breakfast burrito that he didn't like that morning. It hadn't satisfied him, and he was starving. Of course, Zachary was also in a bad mood. When he felt this way, he tended to eat continuously. He thought to himself, so what if she serves Sean food? I don't care. Does she think I'll get jealous? As I've said before, I don't know what jealousy is and will never experience it. They were merely husband and wife in name, having signed an agreement to avoid interfering in each other's lives. Serenity needed to find her next husband before their divorce. As long as she and Sean didn't move in together while she was still married to Zachary and didn't cheat on him, he would ignore it. Zachary tried to convince himself of this, but images of Serenity and Sean chatting and laughing kept replaying in his mind. Duncan and Josh knew that Zachary couldn't tolerate nagging from his grandmother, which was why he had finally married the woman who had helped her. When Zachary mentioned that he was hungry, Josh playfully teased, "Aren't you a married man? How can you be hungry? Didn't your wife make a good breakfast for you?" When Josh encountered Zachary in the office, Zachary was always eager to showcase his marital status, boasting, "I'm a married man." In response, Josh playfully tugged at Zachary's sleeve and remarked, "As a married man, you should wear the clothes your wife bought for you." Zachary, however, remained indifferent. He brushed Josh's hand away and replied coldly, "We're just husband and wife in name. We only put on a show for Nana." Meanwhile, Serenity was busy chatting and laughing with Sean, serving him food, and didn't have time to prepare breakfast for Zachary. Instead, she bought him a cheap breakfast burrito, which he disliked. Despite his distaste, he felt obligated to eat it, knowing that if he discarded it, she would feel her money was wasted. Additionally, Serenity had only gifted him a suit jacket and a few ties previously, neglecting to buy him any casual wear. He couldn't very well wear a suit at home on weekends, could he? Remembering, he realized that the suit jacket was merely a token of appreciation for his help with a trending story on Twitter. It was her way of saying thank you, not a thoughtful gift. TSK. Your act was so convincing that I almost believed you two were a model couple, Josh laughed, adding, "I was even considering getting married at first sight." He continued, "Duncan, you have no idea how often Zach brags about his marriage at the office. I thought being single was great, but seeing him flaunt his happy married life made me think about tying the knot myself." Duncan smiled and replied, "Then you better hurry up. With your qualities, many women would be eager to pursue you as soon as you signal that you're available." Duncan was unique in many ways. Coming from the respectable Lewis family as their fourth son, he had a solid family background. However, he bore a daunting scar on his face, which made it difficult for him to find a girlfriend, as women often found his appearance off-putting. Duncan was a tall and robust man, but the scar gave him a fierce look that many found intimidating. Despite this, he remained unconcerned about others' opinions. When it came to love and marriage, he chose to take things as they came. Unlike his close friend, he was determined not to let his grandmother pressure him into marrying someone he had no genuine feelings for. Chapter 196. Duncan would not be pleased, even if it were merely a concealed, nominal marriage. Zachary listened to his two friends joking around, remaining silent as he continued eating his meal. Soon, he felt full. "I'm heading to my Nana's cafe. You two can take your time finishing up here," Zachary said, setting down his cutlery and wiping the grease from his mouth with a tissue before getting up to leave. "We're done eating too. We'll go with you." Duncan and Josh also laid down their cutlery and followed Zachary to Beans and Cream next door. The bodyguards had also finished their meals. Noticing their boss was leaving, they quietly got up and exited to ensure his protection. They wanted to avoid disturbing the boss's wife. Serenity was dining with Sean, who had previously seen Zachary, so the bodyguards did not alert Serenity. Otherwise, Zachary's identity could be jeopardized. Duncan went to pay the bill. Josh waited for Duncan to settle it before walking out with him. He whispered, "Duncan, don't you think Zachary is acting strangely today? He seemed fine when he came in." Zachary was typically calm and serious, but he didn't appear as distant when he was with his friends in private. "I think his mood shifted after he returned from the bathroom," Josh said suddenly, stopping in his tracks and turning back. He added, "I'll go find out what happened in the bathroom." Duncan grabbed him and pulled him along, saying he found it unnecessary to engage either. Even if he did see something, Zachary mused, "It's been so long. I doubt it's still there." Zachary had always been this way. Duncan felt certain that nothing could change Zachary's mood so quickly. He was inherently calm and maintained the same expression even amidst chaos. "I didn't overthink it," Josh insisted. "He must have seen something that made him really bitter." Curiosity about what Zachary witnessed in the bathroom gnawed at him. He leaned in closer and whispered, "Duncan, do you think he might have walked in on a couple having sex in the bathroom and found it disgusting? That's why he was in such a bad mood." Duncan was rendered speechless. Meanwhile, Sean was nowhere to be found. Despite the absence of his love rival, Zachary still appeared gloomy and rigid. After hearing his friend's question, he quietly remarked, "She doesn't know you too." Duncan and Josh fell silent, realizing the truth in Zachary's statement. Serenity had no idea who they were and would not recognize them, so there was no need to avoid her. As Zachary remained seated, Josh teased, "Aren't you going to say hello to her?" Zachary replied nonchalantly, "She has her own circle of friends, and I'm not close with any of them, so there's no need to say hello." Josh shrugged in response. After all, Serenity wasn't his wife. If Zachary wasn't interested in greeting her, Josh and Duncan felt no obligation either. The seats chosen by Serenity and Jasmine were situated quite a distance from where Zachary was seated. Serenity faced away from him, so she didn't realize he was there. However, he could clearly see all her movements. Despite still feeling angry, Zachary remained indifferent to his wife's presence in the cafe. He neither greeted her nor cast another glance in her direction, treating her as if she were a complete stranger. Chapter 197. Serenity was unaware that Zachary was having lunch at Grace's diner with his friends. Meanwhile, she, Jasmine, and Sean enjoyed a lively conversation while dining for quite some time. When Sean received a call, he had to excuse himself and leave early. Serenity said, "Jazz and I are finished eating. I'll get the bill shortly. Sean, you can go ahead and take care of what you need to." Serenity had fallen in love with Beans and Cream's peaceful atmosphere during her last visit with Jasmine on a blind date. This street was bustling, leading to thriving businesses all around. The cafe owner invested in sound insulation, so when customers entered, the noise from outside was significantly reduced. Sean assumed his cousin was driving, which meant she could drop Serenity off later. He said, "Jazz, Serenity, I'll be on my way then. Go ahead. Drive safely," Jasmine urged her cousin. "Jazz, please make sure to take Serenity home later." Although Serenity owned a car, she rarely used it due to rising gas prices. A full tank would cost her hundreds of dollars, so she reserved it for when it was truly necessary. Managing a household required careful budgeting, and although Zachary had given her a substantial amount for expenses, Serenity was determined not to waste it. Jasmine smiled and said, "Of course, I'll take Serenity home, even without your reminder. Now hurry up and get back to work. It's unfortunate you can't enjoy a peaceful meal on the weekend." It wasn't easy being the heir of a large company. Sean felt a bit hesitant to leave but knew he had to go. After Serenity settled the bill, she exited the restaurant with Jasmine, linking arms. They walked to the nearby cafe, Beans and Cream. As soon as Serenity entered, Zachary's bodyguards recognized her and promptly informed him. Zachary wasn't there for coffee, he simply wanted to sit at his Nana's cafe to calm his thoughts and escape the impact Serenity had on him. When he received news of her arrival, his expression shifted to one of tension, coldness, and rigidity. Even Duncan noticed the change in Zachary's mood, prompting him and Josh to exchange glances. "Should Josh and I give you some space?" Duncan asked. Zachary glanced toward the door and saw Serenity entering, holding Jasmine's arm. However, Sean was nowhere in sight. Despite his love rival's absence, Zachary remained glum and stiff. After hearing Duncan's question, he replied quietly, "She doesn't know you too." Duncan and Josh fell silent. It was true. Serenity wouldn't recognize them, so there was no need for the guys to avoid her. Noticing Zachary's stillness, Josh teased, "Aren't you going to say hello?" Zachary replied indifferently, "She has her circle of friends, and I'm not close with them, so there's no need to greet her." Josh shrugged. After all, Serenity wasn't Zachary's wife in any meaningful sense. If he didn't feel inclined to say hello, neither would Josh or Duncan. Serenity and Jasmine chose seats somewhat distant from Zachary. Serenity sat with her back to him, oblivious to his presence, but he could easily observe her every move. Still angry, Zachary remained indifferent to his wife's arrival at the cafe. He neither greeted her nor offered another glance, as if she were a complete stranger. Chapter 198. Josh was taken aback when he witnessed the scene. Was Zachary just pretending all along when he boasted about his wife? However, Grandma May had lost interest in company affairs and rarely visited the office, so Zachary had no reason to act around Josh. Josh felt confused. Never mind. That's Zachary's personal matter, and he can handle it himself. As friends of Zachary, they would simply sit back and watch the drama unfold with popcorn in hand. If there was no drama to enjoy, Josh would just head home and sleep. 2 hours later, Serenity checked the time and noted it was already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She turned to her friend. "Jazz, let's head back. I need to visit my sister's house." "Sure," Jasmine replied, also glancing at the clock and agreeing with Serenity's decision to leave. "Let's stop by the supermarket later to pick up some fruit and toys for your sister and Sunny." "I want to go to your sister's house with you." "I'd rather not go home to see my mother's displeased face," Serenity chuckled. "Well, who told you to faint at the Dawsons' dinner party? You embarrassed both yourself and your aunt, so it's no wonder your mom is upset with you," Jasmine replied, smiling as she recalled the incident. "But you know what? I don't mind embarrassing myself. It's better than having my mom and aunt think I'm Miss Universe destined to be a queen one day. Now that they've given up on me, I can finally have some peace." "Hey, Serenity. Look over there at that table of 3. Is one of them your husband?" Jasmine stood up and noticed Zachary, quickly tapping Serenity's hand to prompt her for confirmation. Serenity followed her friend's gaze. She peered into the distance and realized it was indeed her husband. "It's him." Zachary's distinct aloofness was unmatched in Wiltspoon. Serenity could recognize him with just a glance. "Do you want to go over and say hello?" Serenity asked hesitantly. "He's with his friends, and I don't know them, so I probably shouldn't approach him." In fact, Serenity had never met any of Zachary's friends. He wouldn't share details about them either. "Then let's just slip away quietly," Jasmine suggested, feeling it wouldn't be right to disturb them. She thought it best to leave before Zachary noticed them. Serenity agreed. Thus, the two women quietly and quickly made their exit. Little did they know, Zachary had noticed them long before. Seeing that Serenity was avoiding him and choosing to leave without a word, Zachary scoffed coldly, thinking, "I wouldn't acknowledge her even if she came over to greet me. At least she has some self-awareness." After leaving Beans and Cream, Serenity chuckled to herself. "Why do I feel like I'm sneaking away like a thief?" Jasmine joked. "That's because you didn't want to greet your husband and decided to sneak out instead," Serenity replied. "His expression was so grim that I was worried he'd pretend not to know me if I approached him. That would have been awkward." They both kept their marriage a secret. After considering it for a moment, Jasmine said, "That could be true. Look at all these luxury cars. That's a Rolls-Royce." Serenity glanced at the fancy vehicles nonchalantly. "You mentioned that Beans and Cream is the largest and most upscale cafe in the city, so it's normal to see luxury cars here. By the way, there's a Rolls-Royce in my neighborhood. It appears to resemble that one. It's typically parked downstairs, right outside my building. I see that luxury car almost every day on my way to work." Serenity felt that the presence of the luxury car elevated Brinfield's value by a degree. Chapter 199. Jasmine exclaimed in surprise, "Really? Brinfield is a high-end neighborhood, but I didn't expect someone who drives a Rolls-Royce to live there. If they're that wealthy, why not live in a villa?" Mr. York suggested that perhaps a rich kid goes to a nearby school, so the parents bought an apartment in Brinfield for their convenience. That way, it's easier for the child to commute to school. They might own several villas, Jasmine replied with a smile. True. Let's head to the supermarket. By the way, didn't Grandma May say she was coming over? Not anymore. Why not? The homeowner disagreed. Jasmine was left speechless. The homeowner was Zachary, Grandma May's grandson. She had wanted to visit for the weekend, but her grandson had refused her request. What an unfilial child. The two then got into Jasmine's car and left Beans and Cream. Shortly after, Jasmine parked at a large shopping mall. After browsing the mall, they emerged with several bags of goodies. At that moment, Serenity found herself missing trips to the mall with Zachary. With him around, he would always help her carry the bags, no matter how much she bought. Once Jasmine loaded the items into the car, she gasped for air. This is the only time I wish I had a man with me while shopping. I didn't think about the logistics when I was buying all this. Now that I'm carrying these heavy bags, my arms feel like they're about to break. I regret buying so much, Serenity laughed. No wonder she and Jasmine were best friends, they shared the same thoughts. Serenity had just been contemplating the advantages of shopping with Zachary, while Jasmine had expressed it aloud. Come on, hurry up and find a boyfriend. Shopping will be much easier then, Jasmine said as she settled into the driver's seat and fastened her seatbelt. Do you really think a good boyfriend is easy to come by? I want someone who truly suits me, someone I have real feelings for. If finding a boyfriend like that were so simple, I wouldn't still be single or hiding from my family due to their constant pressure. You just haven't met the right person yet. There's no need to rush. You're only 25, her friend reassured her. You're still young and can afford to be single for a few more years. My mom wasn't this anxious when you were single. As soon as you got married, though, she started pushing me as if I would never find a partner. She's been trying to arrange countless blind dates for me, hoping I'll be married off the next day, Jasmine replied. She understood her mother's perspective. Her mother believed Jasmine had better prospects than Serenity, who got married before her. Even though Serenity and Zachary had a whirlwind romance, Zachary seemed like a decent guy. Meanwhile, Jasmine was still single, and her blind dates never worked out. That was why her mother was so worried. Fortunately, her mother had eased off on the marriage pressure lately, likely because Jasmine had made it clear she needed some peace and quiet. Serenity giggled, knowing Jasmine's mother was only anxious about her daughter's marital status after witnessing her own marriage. Your mom is relentless, but that's typical of mothers. I wish I had a mother who encouraged me like that, but I can barely remember what mine was like. It appears that Serenity's parents did not take many photos while they were alive. At that time, smartphones were not popular, so the only pictures of her parents remaining were a few kept by Liberty. Serenity had to look at these photos frequently to remember what her parents looked like. Jasmine comforted her friend as she drove. Your parents must be in heaven, watching over you and Liberty. Serenity remained silent. If her parents were truly in heaven blessing them, then the viral incident on Twitter would not have occurred. Additionally, Serenity and her sisters would not have endured such a difficult and heartbreaking childhood. Aware that the topic of parents was sensitive for her friend, Jasmine quickly changed the subject. It took some time to lift the mood again. Chapter 200. Jasmine and Serenity arrived at Liberty's apartment. As Serenity stepped out of Jasmine's car, her expression tightened upon seeing a familiar vehicle parked nearby. What's wrong? Jasmine asked. That car belongs to Liberty's sister-in-law. She must be here to cause trouble for my sister again. Liberty's sister-in-law is one of the worst people I know, she's comparable to the relatives from my hometown. Jasmine replied, let's hurry then. If she tries to bully Liberty, we'll kick her out together. Serenity was already gathering her belongings to head inside. Jasmine quickly followed her in. The Browns were visiting again. As usual, it was just Chelsea and Mrs. Brown, who had come to persuade Liberty to take Hank back home with them. Hank had been living at his parents' house but continued to eat at his sister's place, as their parents took care of Chelsea's children and prepared meals there. Fortunately, both his parents' and sister's homes were nearby, situated in the same neighborhood but on opposite blocks. Chelsea observed how her parents brought home large quantities of delicious food for her brother each day. Although her family shared the meals, Chelsea felt envious of the preferential treatment her parents showed Hank by buying him expensive food. Thankfully, despite her greed, she maintained a sense of propriety and kept her discomfort to herself. Having benefited from her parents' attention for so long, Chelsea had grown accustomed to monopolizing their support, After Hank had stayed at their parents' house for a few days, Chelsea took the lead in trying to reconcile him with Liberty so he could return home as soon as possible. "Liberty, it's normal for couples to argue," Chelsea said. "Very few couples have never had disagreements. You should give it a few days to cool down. Life has to go on, don't you think? He is a big man with strong self-esteem, but he genuinely feels remorse for hitting you that day. We were also wrong for taking his side. You should consider compromising and bringing him back. Put the incident behind you and continue living a happy life as you always have." As soon as Serenity opened the door, she overheard Mrs. Brown trying to persuade her sister. Chelsea said, "Liberty, you should be cautious about another woman stealing your husband if you keep giving Hank the cold shoulder. Hank is young and has a promising future. He's quite handsome and looks like a bachelor. Many young women are attracted to mature men like him who have a successful career." Hank was a manager with a 5-figure monthly salary and earned additional income from commissions, which brought his total to nearly $100,000 a month. To Chelsea, Hank represented success, which led her to look down on Liberty, believing she was unworthy of her brother. Furthermore, Liberty had yet to promise to help take care of Chelsea's children, which greatly displeased Chelsea. Chelsea's oldest child was starting junior high school the following year, and the issue of school pickup and drop-off needed to be resolved quickly. Consequently, Chelsea felt the need to persuade Liberty to agree. If not, she wouldn't readily soften her stance or accompany her mother in convincing Liberty. Liberty was feeding her son some porridge and appeared not to have heard her in-laws. "Sonny." Seeing her daughter-in-law remain silent, Mrs. Brown went to play with her grandson. "Sonny, do you miss your dad?"